Okay, I think we're live already. Thank you, YouTube, and welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Hope everyone's having a great Sunday. Oh boy, what a wonderful lazy weekend. It's been not lazy, but just relaxing for me. You know, there's some work I've been doing, some family I've been meeting, some food and drink I've been having. Just great day so far for me. Hope everyone's having a good one so far too. And we're here to finish off our Cosmonaut Variety Hour. It's okay to like the Force Awakens video. And we're halfway through, so it's going to be easy, smooth sailing from now on, because he's only going to have wonderful things, intelligent, wonderful, delicate, insightful things to say.
And we're always up for some variety and diversity here on the Smudcast podcast.
Yes, always very polite, always courteous, always thoughtful to the people he detracts from. It's a great, wonderful time to watch a Cosmonaut video. So... so yeah,
until he cries at you at Twitter, calling you the most pathetic person in the world.
Well, you know, these things happen. What can you do?
No, that's Twitter, you know.
Exactly. You could be like the Pope, you know, same thing. It's really...
You should see the Pope's tweets. He's a very volatile person. Yeah. And you know, on Twitter, it's like being mean to people is the polite version of being polite. If you're polite, you know, that's kind of like being rude on Twitter.
It's interesting, to say the least, to communicate on Twitter for whatever reason, and without having a video or a clip or a link or reference. It's kind of like, oh, this is just fair game. Everyone just go crazy. So, yeah, not the greatest place. I mean, YouTube is not exactly the greatest place to communicate either, but at least you have time to articulate and write out more than 140 characters. So, YouTube tends to be a bit better, but man, you get just as much bias whether it's on YouTube or Twitter, or pick a social media platform aside from LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's a bit more professional. So that's kind of the point of LinkedIn, to be professional and get work or showcase your company. But still, pick your poison where you want to go and communicate your ideas, and you're going to find all kinds of screaming people regardless. So not a big deal.
All right. Someone somewhere is going to be calling you racist.
Well, in Canada especially. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. You're a racist.
Somewhere around the world, some guy is going to call you a racist. Isn't that great? Isn't that neat?
God bless America, right? That's how it goes. I could call you a racist and get away with it? All right.
That's awesome. I don't need to prove it. I don't need to prove it either. No, you don't. Not as long as you have the right politics. Oh, fantastic.
Why stop with racism? Why not keep going? And that's exactly what happens. So, all right. We're 12 minutes in for part 2. Let's read some super chats and get going. Here's John Lemley. Hello, sir. Thank you. Cosmonaut Variety Hour. I can tell this is going to be a certified hood classic. Well, you know, we left off enjoying his ramble and his swearing at people who didn't think like him, so it's not going to be any different, I bet. But
is that what happened last time?
It was. He starts off the first sentence, "You're a frickin' idiot." It's like, okay.
I remember the first part of the video was, "It's okay to like The Force Awakens. Now let me attack all these people and falsely criticize them and be disingenuous about their arguments about these people while trying to frame it as it's okay to like it." So no one's disputing it's okay to like it. It's okay to like anything.
So let me get this straight. His video is titled "It's Okay to Like The Force Awakens," but it's really about it's okay to like The Force Awakens, but it's not okay if you don't.
Well, he just makes a lot of criticism towards ER and other YouTube channels which are criticizing the films.
Oh, I hope I'm in there.
And you're not. You're not popular enough.
Of course not. Of course not.
I don't think you were around then, were you? Like,
oh, how old is this video?
Before The Last Jedi?
I'm sure he was.
I think I made my first video in, I think, late 2018.
Yeah, so we started doing, responses right after that, actually. So
yeah.
So that was fun. It's like, what?
No, you're not included. Yeah. You're not special enough, LiteratureDevil.
Yeah.
That must be too scary.
ER is the one he goes after. And he only uses one single clip of ER, which is him talking about clone troopers and stormtroopers. That's invalid criticism. And then moves on.
I need to work harder to shed more tears, or cause more tears to flow from the eyes of Cosmonaut Variety Hour.
Well, just send your videos to Cosmonaut Variety Hour. I'm sure he's gonna just get really upset by them and make some video about you. That's actually not a bad idea. Just tweet them.
That'll be good.
I just found out on my phone that a small aircraft has landed on Highway 404 north of Toronto. It's like, oh, that's nice. Thanks, Canada.
You know what? I forgot. Cosmonaut Variety Hour actually has me blocked on Twitter.
Oh, really?
So I can't tweet about it.
What did you do?
I can't tweet at it.
What
I
happened?
was very polite, and we had a Twitter exchange, and then he blocked me.
That's Twitter. That's normal. Someone either messages you or blocks you. That means they like you.
So I can't actually tweet at him, actually.
Well, make a new account, then tweet at him.
I would, but I don't really care. I don't care enough to do that.
All right, we got some super chats. We're going to get going soon. Skids, how's it going? LiteratureDevil, glad you're here for the third part of the CVH. Yeah, I don't know if it's the third part, but we've done his videos before, so it's all the same, really. He's a guy who has bad takes, swears a lot, and why doesn't swear too
Even
much?
when he has like a good take, he reasons it very poorly. So he's like, I like this film, and then it's a good film, but then he reasons really poor reasons for liking it.
It's a good film because this is an awesome scene. Oh, it is an awesome scene. It's an awesome scene, not because it's awesome, because it echoes my politics. Oh, well, you just ruined it for everybody.
Well, no, he doesn't even do that. He just poorly reasons it through the writing. He doesn't talk about politics.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's usually what you get with these sorts of arguments. Like, I'm thinking about Steve Shives. Like, oh yeah, right on, Steve Shives. You actually write about something. It's because of, and then he goes on. It's because it's good because it shows that my politics are right and your politics are wrong.
If I remember
Thanks,
correctly
Shives.
from watching Cosmonaut Variety Hour, the only time I've ever seen him go political is when he was covering, I believe it was Bright, and he said,
yeah.
"This is the problem when you get white people to write a film about racism."
But that's you can't really. It's really difficult to talk about Bright without going political because it was made out of politics. It was born
was
from the
retarded.
fires of politics. Yeah, we're going to make this weird movie about racism, and we're going to make it orcs.
But it doesn't. Oh my god, it was as well. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's always orcs. It's the woke people who see minorities as these little monsters. It's always the woke people who see minorities as like these lesser subhuman beings, and they claim not to be the racist ones. Like, okay.
Yes, we have to put them on our
But
pedestal.
The whole world like really doesn't make sense. Like apparently, in the same world, they also have Shrek, and the reason why the orcs are discriminated against is because they had an uprising, but the elves did the exact same thing. But yeah, they're at the top of the hierarchy. There's no attitude. There's nothing put into world building.
Yeah,
It's just the regular world. But then, oh look, we swapped some things up, and now it's got orcs.
I think they've officially removed the classification of race when you choose your character in a character sheet to species.
Oh yeah, I saw that. They're going to change it.
It's completely inconsequential whether you say species or race or group. You're categorizing a person based off their genetics or
like
based
a
on their appearance.
lineage or something.
It's the same thing.
It's actually a lineage thing. I think there's something like a lineage or something like that, which actually I haven't looked into it, but it sounds kind of cool because it was a lineage where like I don't know, your parents are like athletes or something like that, and you gain traits from that. I hate the fact that they're doing it for woke reasons, but it sounds cool, so it's kind of conflict. Like, the boulder has conflicted feelings.
Here's Mikey Guzzler. Thank you, sir. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Cosmonaut Variety Hour's Star Wars prequels video is much worse than this video. To prove this, with one point he said Dooku is the worst Star Wars character. Okay. He's not a
I think
very
it's the worst.
He's not a very well developed villain, but he's a very effective villain.
He is. He's way better than Kylo Ren. I can tell you that right now.
Yes.
He's calm, collected, calculated.
Even if you
It's like
just take the movie version of him, he's way better. if you include the Clone Wars version, I mean, he's awesome. He's just fantastic as a villain.
I love the one where he just kind of drops off the building, and there's like, where did it go? It's like, oh yeah, I'm just kind of standing on this thing. It's like, fine.
He's so awesome. Like Count Dooku is so awesome in Clone Wars.
He puts one hand behind his back while he fights everyone.
It's like I don't care. He's kind of fights the same way, but like a more elegant way as Darth Vader. Like Darth Vader and Dooku, both kind of fight. Like they don't really care. Like they can be doing something. They could be reading a book while they fight you or something. Because you look at every time Darth Vader fights, he fights like he gives no cares in the world. Just fighting whatever. Because he always fights like he's not putting in. He's only putting like 1% of his effort. And then when he puts in more effort, he kind of dominates you.
Well, that was especially in the Clone Wars when was it the last episode or it was this year's episode, I think, that showed how like this is right before the movie of episode 3. So this is like he's really coming into his own. He's so confident. He just walks into the battlefield like it's nothing. It's like, whatever. I'll just go do it. It's like, wait, stop. What are you doing? So really like that attitude.
One thing I really wanted to see was I really wanted to have, instead of Anakin kill Dooku, I wanted to see a one-on-one battle to the death between Count Dooku and Mace Windu. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, for sure. They didn't give Mace Windu enough credit in the movies, in the show. I guess in the books they might have, but that's where they got all his special art forms and why he's so aggressive and why he's so powerful. So
I want to 3D Clone Wars Dooku versus 2D Clone Wars Mace Windu.
Ooh, my God, it's not even a competition. That's ridiculous. Guy takes on an army in the desert.
Object fights an unstoppable force.
Exactly. That's what it would be.
It seems as if his lightsaber slows him down. He's like, I just got rid of that thing. I don't need it anymore. And he comes back. I guess I could use it again. Fine.
And once Mace Windu puts his lightsaber away, then the real trouble begins because he has his hand-to-hand combat. The hand-to-hand combat style, by the way, which he used to tear apart with his bare hands an entire army of droids. That's Mace Windu.
Another super chat before we start.
Yes, John Lemley. Cosmonaut Variety Hour has a better business card than LiteratureDevil. Does he? Does he really?
Look, having a business card made up of crayons is not better.
Is it? Does it have subtle coloring? Does it have tasteful thickness?
I have 6 watermarks in mine. Okay.
He's just scribbled on with crayon.
It's raised lettering though, even though it's in crayon.
It's bone.
Alrighty, let's get going.
Bad movies. What really grinds my gears is when people say The Force Awakens is a bad movie. People really need to reevaluate what a bad movie is.
This movie was absolute garbage. The acting. This is the worst acting I have seen in my life.
Really? You should probably watch more movies.
I want him dead. I want his head cut off and brought here. I want his head on this piano.
The people who unironically...
I haven't comparing...
What is that from?
Yeah, I have no idea. But he's comparing B movies or, whatever this is, Cantonese theater, whatever you want to call 70s and 80s action flicks to AAA. We're talking, highest tier budget filmmaking.
There are a lot of throwaway movies that have terrible acting in it, but you can understand that because they have a very low budget and they can't use A-list actors. Here, they actually have A-list actors here. I mean, there's a lot of money went into this movie. They had Harrison Ford. Daisy Ridley actually has she's actually been in other movies. Like she's a tested actor.
I think it's mainly because the direction they've been given for the characters, because the actors really don't know what the hell they're supposed to be doing in scenes. Again, I keep referencing when Finn is playing with the sand while Rey is holding a stick to him after knocking him on his ass. Why is he playing with the sand?
Yeah, it's not always a combination of just the actor's skill. It's the directors too. Like a actor is a really good actor, a talented actor, is very capable of giving a subpar performance or a dismal performance if the director isn't doing his job. In fact, I think there's someone. I forgot what movie it was on, but there was a director. I saw the behind the scenes of the director, and he was very excited to work with a experienced veteran actor. And he goes, "Oh, awesome!" So his experience until then had been with inexperienced actors, And he said, like, finally, it's going to be cool to work with a veteran because it's probably going to be, a lot easier to work with because his experiences up until then were actors demanding that, hey, what's my motivation here? What do I do in the scene? And that he had to be like kind of hands-on through every step of the way. And that's why it was so cool for him at first to be working with a veteran. I forgot what the veteran was, but when he said when he finally met the veteran actor, it was even worse. The veteran actor wanted more direction, more hands-on control, because they need that stuff to function, so they can get everything down just right to the minute detail. So when you have a big budget like this, it's not just just because they're good actors doesn't mean that they're going to perform well. It can only perform well if everything's on the ball. And by the way, as we said before, this is a big budget film. It should have been handled a lot better. So maybe he was over-exaggerating. Maybe it was hyperbole. We said, this is the worst acting he's ever seen in his life. Maybe that's hyperbole.
And
that's not true.
Why didn't he just reference the room with any scene? Any scene.
The room would be a very easy reference to make.
Right.
I had to go to this weird, obscure movie that no one's ever seen.
I'm sure there's plenty of bad movies no one has seen that are really weird, out of pace, out of tone, bad directed acting. But we're not talking about movies.
The guy said it's the worst acting he's ever seen, and it might be true. Who knows? Because he probably hasn't seen the movie.
Maybe he doesn't watch B movies. Maybe he doesn't watch Cantonese flicks, or when Bruce Lee translated from Cantonese to English. None of those voice dubs, whatever you want to call them, back in the day. So,
and maybe he only watched the big cinema releases. Like
Cosmonaut's whole defense of you should watch more movies. He says, the guy says, this is the worst acting you've ever seen. And he goes, and then Cosmonaut says, well, you should watch more movies. It's not defense of the acting. It's you should watch more movies because there's worse acting out there. It's kind of like saying, this steak tastes awful, but and then the guy saying, well, you should eat more steak because there's even worse steak out there. It's like, yeah, I know, but this is awful.
It's a very poor thing to say because it doesn't excuse the poor quality in your product to say, well, someone's product over there is even worse quality than mine.
Yeah, but the budget's like 500 times more than what that movie took to make. So, yeah.
The problem is that the problems are still there despite other films having the same problems being worse.
It's the wrong argument to make for the sequel or the prequels rather, because the acting's fine. It's the narration and the dialogue which is just why did this get passed through the editors? Why did whoever was writing with Lucas sign off on these lines? I mean, Christensen did the best he could. We know that. So
we know Christensen's a good actor because we've seen him in other films that he's done pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's like a kid hitting in his paper and his teacher's like, this is awful. You get a D minus. And then the kid goes, well, Jimmy over there, he did worse. He did all those things, and then he did horrible things on his other paper. And the teacher will say something like, well, yeah, he got an F, but it doesn't mean your paper's better. It doesn't mean your paper's fine. It's just a little better than his. So yeah, maybe they're both a little bit in the wrong here. Like the guy obviously using hyperbole when he said, oh, maybe not obviously, but it's possible he was using hyperbole when he said this is the worst acting he's ever seen. The acting isn't awful.
Yeah. He was probably angry as well. Like when you're angry, you tend to be a bit hyperbolic, a bit exaggerated.
Yeah, if I were to see that, I would assume that he's meaning that the acting is bad, not specifically the fact that it's been the worst acting he's ever seen. I would take that as the acting is bad.
I believe the best example you could have used was from episode 1. You would have to argue why the acting is bad, but we know because the lines are not exactly poetic. They're not exactly showstoppers. Like, oh, what a beautiful love story between Anakin and Padme. When he says
Anakin shows more emotion than Rey ever does.
That's true, but that's acting, not necessarily the line itself. So I think that's the acting kicking, and that's a point against him. If we were to use that line, it's the line and writing and the actor doing the best they could with it. But it's still a bad experience, even though we know what's going on. So,
well, I don't think the system works.
Yeah, well, I really want to know who wrote the script specifically for each scene. I'm not sure it's all JJ. I'm sure there's someone else. I don't know if JJ actually writes dialogue. So, anyway.
ironically say The Force Awakens is the worst movie ever made are the kind of people that I don't take very seriously when it comes to movie discussion.
Good, because I don't take you seriously when talking about movie discussion.
It's very popular with the kids these days.
Yes.
I don't see a bad movie as something like The Room or Troll 2.
What? It's not a bad movie?
They're not bad films? I'm sorry?
How are they not bad films?
I guess because he subjectively enjoys them.
But I want to know his criteria, because you can't just say this piece of crap is not bad. You're like, wait. It is by definition a pile of crap. There's the acting, the lines, the sets, the music, everything. Everything is bad or mediocre or B or whatever standard you have. Like, we're not making opinions on these things. We're just saying, look and listen. That's it.
No, I think he's going to argue, because Cosmonaut is very much a person who believes that if you enjoy a film, it's good, and if you don't enjoy a film, then that means it's bad. And because he's going through the mindset of he enjoyed watching The Room, and because he subjectively enjoyed it, that means it's good to him.
These movies have redeemers. They're actually fun to watch. They're hilarious. If your movie's
okay,
no, there's no redeeming qualities. They're just so bad that they're hilarious. That's
sure,
the thing.
But we laugh at The Room because it is so funny to watch, because it's so bad. We laugh at...
It's not redeeming.
Gremlins. I don't know who watches Gremlins or any of those 80s horror or 80s sci-fi, whatever you want to call those, because they're so corny and silly and fun. They're not great films, not even close. But you can see there's an amount of effort being put into the limited resources they had to make monsters and props and sets. You go, okay, I know what they're doing here. It's kind of cute. It's kind of funny. Obviously, that monster is nowhere near believable, but that's fine.
known enough to get a big Hollywood mockumentary starring James Franco and Seth Rogen, then maybe you're doing something right. What I'm saying is that even if these movies...
Wait. He's arguing because the movie was so bad and other people made a mockumentary about it, therefore it's a good film? That's backwards thinking. That's like saying you dug a hole so deep and you got yourself killed, and that's so good because you were entertaining, even though you were there to, I don't know, look for water or something. And you killed yourself in the process. That's not a good well. That's not a good technique for surviving whatever you're trying to do, or whatever plan you have in digging a hole. This is backwards thinking. Oh, but I found it funny, therefore it's good? No.
Yeah, like I always mention, hey, look, this I like this film, therefore it must be woke.
I don't know. This is who argues like this? It's like saying, okay, my son fell on his knees and scraped his knee. That was painful, but he was so cute when he started crying. It's like, you might think it's cute. He's crying in pain. Help your goddamn son. Weird backwards thinking. Here's John Lemley again. Thank you, sir. Guys, Hitler has had like 1 million mockumentaries made about him. He must be good. Yeah, exactly.
He must be good. He must be good.
It's ridiculous.
Only succeed at making you laugh at them because they're so incompetent, then they succeeded at something, even if it wasn't intentional.
These are wait a second.
I wouldn't really call it succeeding, because
really
succeeding is usually like you set a goal, and if your goal wasn't to make a terrible film, then you've kind of failed at your goal, but you've also kind of maybe got this other thing where it's like, oh yeah, it's hilarious. Because I remember Tom Wiseau was really upset that people were disliking his film, or not disliking his film, liking his film ironically.
What were
and
those...
it wasn't until later that he embraced that people were liking his film ironically.
What were those awards you told me about, Shiny, called the Darwin Awards? Technically, that's an award. Someone liked your performance. Unfortunately, that involved someone dying, which was not their intention. Which is just the most backwards thing you could think of. Again, if the creator of something wanted to be like a beautiful Renaissance painting, ended up making a piece of modern art sculpture, he failed in his task. Some other person can subjectively go, oh, look at this amazing thing, which I can't describe because modern art.
What kind of soft touch, safe space nonsense is this?
Yeah.
Let's say you spill
like you go like you face someone in chess, right? And then you want to win, but you lose. You don't succeed at losing. You just lost. You failed at winning.
That's like saying I was playing checkers the whole time. Ha ha ha. I was like, what?
You unintentionally do something. Like, say, let's use you accidentally spill some paint and it makes a wonderful pattern. And people's like, oh my God, that's a wonderful pattern. It's like, no, I didn't mean to do that. But, it wasn't intentional at all. But people say, oh yeah, it's a nice pattern. It's something you can look at. So, okay, I'll take that.
You succeed at making a pattern.
Not what you intended to do.
I didn't mean to do that, but sure. Also, that probably would net you like $10 million or something like that. Just spray paint on the floor.
Only in Canada.
Sell it as modern art.
Yeah.
Some rich person out there is needing money to launder will buy it probably.
There is some ridiculous modern art which really angers me when looking at really actual talented artists getting nothing, and then you get this fucking hacks who put some lines on some canvas and sell it for millions. Like, just the legitimate L that someone just painted on some fucking canvas, and it's like, oh look, give me an award now.
Here's a banana. Give me $10,000. Give me $10 million.
Let me throw a toddler tantrum all over this area, just putting around chairs in disorderly fashion. It's modern art.
Most people
I think
would call
one of the strangest modern arts I've seen is a lady who was knitting with wool she inserted into herself. I don't know if you ever heard about that, but that is real.
That's not something.
That's modern art.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, John Lemley, thank you, sir. Marcus could really benefit from learning the concept of people failing upwards in society because his channel embodies that. I don't know. I don't watch his channel. I don't know his videos. I'm glad I'm watching them with you guys because they're funny for me. This is kind of funny because we are watching it and getting entertainment out of it because it's so dumb. The opinions are so unfounded and backward that we're sitting here scratching our heads going, what is he really talking about here? It's so bad it's good. It's like, we understand the concept. That doesn't mean that's a good film. You just said it's bad.
Well, I would like to propose the idea that these should not be considered bad movies. Bad movies are movies that leave you empty. There's only one film.
No. There's a difference between the idea of something you enjoy and the idea of quality. They're two distinctly different things. There's the objective quality and the subjective enjoyment. And there's a difference. A good film isn't something you enjoy, but you can enjoy a good film, but they're separate. There's a correlation, and that's it.
Well, The Force Awakens left me empty. Last Jedi left me empty. And Rise of Skywalker was the only one that didn't leave me empty. That's probably the only one I drank with some sort of alcoholic beverage, and it was so wacky and over the top that it was somewhat enjoyable. So those are bad movies then. Right?
What if you enjoy it at the start and then you slowly start to think about it and then you don't enjoy it anymore? You're not getting any kind of enjoyment in it because the hand's so bad it's good.
Yeah, because the whole claim that a bad movie is a movie that leaves you empty, it's kind of subjective because people can take value from many different things, and just because someone doesn't take value from a movie doesn't mean someone else won't take value from it. That's a subjective quality of movies. The objective quality is the structure and the techniques and things involved.
Well, that's what I'm telling you about Cosmonaut Variety Hour's views. He believes that a good film is something. If you enjoy a film, that means it's good. If you don't enjoy a film, that means it's bad. It's got nothing to do with taste. It's got nothing to do with bias. He doesn't look at it objectively. It's just that's the way it is.
And this safe space nonsense because you couldn't like bad stuff. There's nothing wrong with liking bad stuff. I think it's this ego thing. I don't know if it's because I'm not talking about Cosmonaut or whatever. I'm talking about in general, like this whole mentality that desperate clinging to the fact that art is only subjective and has no objective quality to it. It seems to me, from what I've seen in all these defenses, that it's ego, that I like this, therefore it can't be bad. Because if I like something that's bad, it means that I'm not this towering intellectual or whatever it is. So in order for them to like something that's terrible, they have to argue that it is good. So that they can say, oh no, it's actually good. You poor plebeians just can't see the actual value in it, or something like that. That's what it seems like to me. Like they're so arrogant and pretentious that it's something that's bad, but because they like it, it must be good somehow. It must be genius. Not as good, but genius.
Here's Andrew Clark. This logic reminds me of an Escher painting. M.C. Escher, a good old Wonderful optical illusions. Yes, it takes a hard eye to understand an Escher painting in regards to practicing art and appreciating art, for that matter. John Lumley again, thank you, sir. The issue with saying art is only good if it's enjoyable is while some artists have enjoyment as their marker for success. And that is dependent on the reaction to the art, not the making of the art, because you could have a totally different emotion making something than you can from experiencing it. That's not the only reason why artists might create art. Exactly. So there's multiple reasons why artists do what they do. Sometimes they're bored, sometimes they're angry, sometimes they're paid to do so. So there's no emotion. That's just a completely professional thing. So there's all sorts of reasons why something is made, but their intention, hopefully, their hypothesis or their premise, hopefully, is achieved because they're good at their craft and they achieve what they're setting out to do. And that is why we look at stuff like The Room, because we know that was not done professionally or on a professional level, that the intention was clear to do this what is it, a highbrow sort of dramatic story of a man losing everything and falling on hard times and ending it all. So there are ways to do that. There's all kinds of contemporary stories, whether on the stage, even Shakespeare, that have those elements in there. And that is why we know, aside from production value and acting and writing, why the show did not work. And it's as funny, I would say, somewhat funnier because of being a full motion video, an actual movie that was made in theater, comparable to a stage production with a bunch of kids who don't know their lines, who are trying to say stuff, they try to act out something dramatic, like Romeo and Juliet, and they screw it up because they're kids. That's cute. That's funny because they're kids. They're supposed to be. They're immature. They don't know how to express these feelings. They're not professional. It's the same sort of vibe you get from watching The Room. The Room is just weird and wacky at times. So it's kind of sad, but because it's so sad, it's funny. But it's still sad. It's still a bad film, no matter how you react to it.
Film that I've ever walked out on in the theater, and it was called The Fifth Estate, and it was so bland, uninspired, poorly cut. It was just so bad. I would never watch this movie again. I ended up leaving the theater because I realized the movie has no redeemable qualities, and it's not worth finishing, even if I did pay $10 to go see it. That is how we should define a bad movie. Lots of edgy people like to say The Force Awakens is a bad movie, or even better, the worst movie ever made. A big Hollywood movie
that made the worst movie ever made.
$1 billion worldwide and was initially loved by everybody? No, that movie sucks.
But the initially is the important word there. Initially. And the reason why fans flocked there was nothing to do with the actual film's quality itself. It's got to do with the fact that it had the Star Wars name. It was the first film to have the Star Wars name in about 10... No.
It was a while.
It's not the Star Wars film to have a Star Wars name, but the continuation of the Star Wars films proper in about nearly 9 years, I believe.
Yeah, it was a while. But The Force Awakens, I wouldn't say is a worst movie ever made because The Last Jedi exists, obviously.
I would say any quality it does have is quality that it's just copied from A New Hope, but that still doesn't make it good because for all the qualities it's taken from A New Hope, I'd even put it against that because it's taken it from A New Hope and it's so much like A New Hope. And then you've got all the things like the horrible character writing, the horrible character direction, the lack of motivation.
It's kind of like just putting the surface elements of From A New Hope and putting into this movie. It's kind of like if we went to you saw the movie It, and he's like, oh look, balloons. The balloons are really scary in that movie because it signals the arrival of the creature, and then your guy is like saying, okay, I'm gonna make my own horror movie. In order to have some scary moments, I need to have red balloons. That's kind of what they said. They don't, no context. Just they think red balloons equals scary. Just in general. So they put red balloons in the movie. It's kind of like what we got in The Force Awakens. Like the Death Star run was really, really cool in A New Hope. So we're just going to put something like that in our movie without the context or substance underneath.
right? Did everybody? Yeah, I did, because I'm not fucking brain dead. I remember when the movie came out, everybody liked it. I can't even count how many people liked the movie at first and then realized everybody else liked it and then decided that they hate it.
They didn't like... What the fuck? No. They didn't decide to hate it based on the fact that everyone loved it. It was the fact that they started to think about the damn film. Because it falls apart as soon as you start thinking about it. And that's the J.J. Abrams effect.
I mean, they could have liked it. They could have liked the flash and the illusions of it, but then when you break it down, it's terrible. That's probably what happened.
A lot of people I talked to loved The Force Awakens when it came out. I was not one of those people. I thought it was I didn't care. But a lot of people really loved it. And then later they thought, oh, actually, no, it's shit. I started thinking about it.
I mean, the movie's fine. It's on the bottom tier of fine. It's almost terrible, but it's watchable. It's not The Last Jedi.
It's incredibly shallow, and it's actually I think that I keep saying it's what was the start of the downfall, because I don't think from there it was going to be incredible. From there it would be incredibly difficult to create a sequel trilogy because of the huge holes that it was presenting, the disconnection between the episode 6 and episode 7. And the fact that J.J. Abrams was just filling it with mysteries that he didn't have anything for. No, he had no answers for them. So it was already setting it up to fail. If you look at the film by itself, yeah, it's all right. But then you've got it. It's already making things difficult for the films that are coming after it.
Especially when you're judging it as a trilogy, not just as an individual film. If it's an individual film and there's no background to anything to Star Wars related, you're still in the dark about all these characters, why they're so important, who they are, what's the legend behind them. And it's nice, but it's still just a reference to nothing. So you don't have any backstory to understand what's going on. Because you're fans, because we know episode 4 and episode 6, you're like, okay, well, yeah, this is what might have happened, but it still doesn't connect very well. And that's the setup that JJ knew he was giving to someone else, because he's like, all right, let me just put things together in the safest way I can think of, in the most bombastic way I can think of without going crazy. And voila.
It's very disingenuous for a Cosmonaut to say, hey, look, well, all these people, they liked the film at the start. And then when they saw everyone else didn't like it, then they immediately disliked it.
Yeah, it's
ignoring all the arguments they're putting forward and their entire explanation of why they think the film is of poor quality.
Yeah, it's this weird anecdotal reference. Like, well, all my friends liked it. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I caught that too. Everyone I knew liked it. Therefore, everyone must have liked it before people started hating on it. Like, no, there are plenty of people who didn't like the movie to begin with. And I found it fine when I first saw it. It's like, feels kind of hollow and empty. Like it feels like a later MoFat Doctor Who episode that has like no substance underneath it. It's just flashy and special effects everywhere. But
I'll actually disagree with you there, and I'll actually agree with Cosmonaut, because back then when it very first came out, everyone was hog wild for it. They were going nuts.
A lot of people were.
Everyone thought it was absolutely crazy, and that was pretty much almost everyone. At least from my perspective. Yeah. Not just everyone I knew, like YouTubers everywhere, just nothing but positive reviews. Nothing but positive reviews from audiences and critics, and everyone loved it.
Yeah, I just got the resounding meh from everyone. Almost everyone. It's not it wasn't the greatest reception from my perspective, even with the friend group I had. They liked Star Wars. They even thought it was fine, but that's it. They thought it was fine.
Here is John Lemley. Thank you again. Guys, you're just edgelords for not liking TFA. I don't know about edgelords.
We just like to hate things that other people like. We like to debunk their happiness.
Love to hate things. Well, that's true. I like to debunk their happiness. I want the delicious tears.
Another thing, I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, or at least attempt to. I noticed that this movie is not good on multiple rewatches. This is something that I found
wait, what are you saying?
What do you mean not good?
Not good on multiple rewatches. Oh yeah, that's because you start to thinking about it.
You just say it's a good film and now it's bad.
So he's objective now.
What is
There's objective quality to art now.
What is going on? Does he like the film or not? Which one is it?
At first, it was a bad film and something that leaves you empty, which is completely subjective to depending on the person who watches it. Now it's a bad film. Now it's a bad film.
He just established that everyone's motivation for not liking these films was that it was because they're popular, and that's the reason they don't like it.
No.
And then he says we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But you've already just not given them the benefit of the doubt by going straight to guessing their motivations and ignoring all their arguments.
It is possible he is having a general opinion at first and saying everyone liked it, and then he's actually picking it apart on second or third viewing, going, okay, there are some bad things to make it a bad film. But he's not actually using his brain to stop and think, wait a second, can I actually weigh what's good and what's bad? Why is it good? Why is this part bad? He's not doing that. He's just spouting words and saying, oh, now it's good, now it's bad. Because I watched the third time, like, okay, can you think about it, sir? Can you give us a reason why it's good or bad this time around? It's very simple. You just write down all the things you like, and you write down all the things you hate, and you tell us why.
Yeah, I've watched The Godfather about 5-6 times. It's still a good movie. I still enjoy the movie. I didn't watch it once, and then the second time around, it becomes horrible. It's still a good movie.
Yeah.
Big Hollywood blockbusters are suffering from. The Marvel movies are also like this. Watching them over and over again reveals the cracks. I still don't think it sucks, I don't think it's awful, but I would categorize The Force Awakens as a decent action-adventure movie, and that's just about it.
Well, I mean,
It's not
even the Marvel
ever
movies,
made, and it's not the best movie
He's
ever
just done a
made.
whataboutism, because he said, well, the same thing happens when you go rewatch other films, so therefore the problems are okay here.
Yeah, I may have done bad, but that guy over there did worse. See, he did it again. Again, he did it again. It's like this. I made this. You're saying this is the worst acting you've ever seen, but have you seen this movie? It has even worse acting. No, you haven't, have you? Because no one has.
Well, it's not even saying, in this case, he's not even saying it's Marvel films are worse. He's just saying, hey, well, some Marvel films, when you rewatch them again, flaws come up. Therefore, this is okay.
Yeah, but Marvel films have more substance. Like even the worse, like the worse off Marvel films, they have a little more substance than The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens feels like it's just a hollowed out shell of something better. The Marvel movies are, at least even the worst ones, they tend to have something put together. They know what they're doing. Like they have a storyline they're going towards. They have characters. They have villains, and they're not great movies, but they are good for sitting down. You can rewatch them, and even though the problems pop up, they're not so damning that they are, it's Disney Star Wars level of horrible.
And I think Marlon wants to have a word with him because he was hinting towards Civil War there. It's like, oh well, there's problem with Civil War when you rewatch it. I was like, Marlon wants to know your location.
So as Shiny said, as you sit back and watch or experience something a second or third time, yes, you do notice things more clearly because you're not as enthusiastic, you're not as blinded by your own bias of expectations and excitement. You're thinking. So this happens.
It's competent, it's decent, it's fun to watch. Even if you personally don't like it, which is perfectly fine, it's kind of an exaggeration to say that this movie is garbage. I don't like Captain America Civil War, but I'm not a fucking idiot. I wouldn't say it's the worst movie ever made. Except I lied, it actually is the worst movie ever made. Part 3.
Okay, is this like a joke to him? Is he just like trying to make people laugh in the process of talking about popular topics?
I think he's trying to sneak a point into there while also playing it off as a joke, which means that if you try to criticize that point, you can go to the defense of it's just a joke. When he's subtly landing a point in there.
Because he just said that you can dislike the film and that's okay. So it's like, all right. Mm-hmm. So if I can dislike something and that's okay, and like something and that's okay, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, no. He's making the point of, well, I don't like this film, but I think this film's still of quality.
Oh,
and
no.
It's like, and he's saying, well, that means that you don't like this film.
I really don't think he's on the level of talking about quality. I really don't think he is, or understands the concept of quality.
He said it's bad. Well, he said he thinks Civil War. No, sorry, he doesn't like Civil War, but he doesn't consider Civil War a bad film. But when you use the word bad, it's in the context of poor quality.
Yeah, but not to him, Shiny. He's not thinking in terms of a subjective and objective. He's just saying, "I like it, therefore it's good."
But the thing is, the term good is still used to describe either morality or quality. So
Sure, but
it's
that's
not it's not a statement of subjectivity.
that is our understanding of the philosophy behind it. But he does not. I don't even think he took a philosophy course. I don't think he understands the concept of quality. He's just saying words.
I don't think you need a philosophy course to understand quality. I didn't.
No, I don't think you do. But he's nowhere near what you're talking about.
It gets worse. It gets worse because part 3, he's going to apparently go over the Mary Sue. We're never going to get done with this video. Right? It's just, it's going to be here forever.
I mean, I just noticed. Yeah, Mary Sue. You're right. Oh my God.
In the context of what he's saying, he was saying that he subjectively disliked it.
Yes,
but then he's not going to say it's a bad film because of that.
No,
so in that case, he's hinting towards at least some kind of objective quality.
He did reference to it being bad on multiple viewings, but then he broke it down into, well, there's flaws in everything. It's like, yes, and he didn't bother to tell us that. He just said it's okay, it's good enough, it's fun to watch. Like, okay, yeah, right, sure, I'm with you.
Okay, I kind of want to make this a little bit more fun because we've gone over the Mary Sue thing. I can't even count how many times. But I don't even know. We've gone over so many times. It's hard to keep count of it all or keep record. But what do you want to think that his arguments are going to be that Rey isn't a Mary Sue? Unless he's arguing that she is a Mary Sue.
He's going to bring up Superman. He's going to do some superhero something.
Actually, I've forgotten this part of the video, but I feel like that's exactly what he's going to go. He's going to go Superman.
Yeah.
Superman, stick-like weapon, you think that's going to be in there? Or
no, stick-like weapon.
Sword-like weapon. Sword-like weapon. You think sword-like weapon is going to be in there?
I don't think sword-like weapon is going to be in there. At least I don't remember it being in there. Well, it's been so long since I watched this video.
I haven't seen this part either, but we have to think in terms of his mentality. So he's going to go to like extremes. So Superman, superheroes, like Sherlock Holmes if he's smart, but I doubt it. So
maybe you think a demonizing of canon will be in there, like the whole canon is not really a thing. It's
that is way too sophisticated for him. No way. Hello Greedo can do it because he's heard the arguments from Star Wars fans.
Other people.
Yeah, I don't think Cosmonaut is even listening, let alone understands it.
What about themes? What about my themes? Where he's going to say, it's okay because theme of the movie.
Yes, I agree.
Well, this is before. Okay, so one thing you have to remember. This is before The Last Jedi. So a lot of the arguments that were coming up during The Last Jedi, The Last Jedi was one of them where theme was one of the major arguments. And that's where we also got the arguments of sword-like weapon and all these other things.
I mean,
so I don't think he's going to bring up
series.
Arguments which were then brought up for The Last Jedi, at least commonly.
I mean, if he's going to go into the fact that Rey in the Mary Sue thing before The Last Jedi came out, there's still. I'm talking about the ideas that are present in The Force Awakens alone, where she is really good with a staff and she can then beat. Because she beats Kylo Ren in for The Force Awakens at the end with no training, and the theme was clearly in that movie where supposedly supposed to be that anyone can be a hero and that she's just awesome and all that stuff, and that she can rescue herself. So that's why she's so good with the Force, because she's a prodigy or whatever. She's a regular person trying to be a hero, and they wanted to skip over all that training nonsense. So that's why my theory was that maybe he's going to have sword-like weapon in there. Maybe he's going to have themes in there. I think themes might be in there.
I'm willing to put themes are not going to be in there. I'm going to put money on that.
So it's just Superman, like the Superman thing where it's extremes. Like Rey is fine because of Superman, because Superman exists.
I think he's going to go to Luke.
Oh, Luke. Oh, okay. Oh, that's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here's Skids. Thanks, Skids. That's what I meant in earlier Super Chat LD. Okay, I don't know what you wrote in earlier Super Chat. Let me just scroll up there. Glad you're here for the third part of CVH's video. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. This is. I can't wait. This is going to be interesting.
Part 3.
Made our predictions and see what's going to happen. I wonder if he's going to do the whole thing where she was trained because of Plut. Because Plut's arm appeared in the flashback.
No, that's before a lot of this. Again, you have to keep in the mindset of a lot of these arguments came a lot later.
Yeah, they came a lot later. I mean, they started becoming prominent later after the Last Jedi. But I think they could have been made. At the very least, could have been made.
They could have been
just
made,
the Force
but
Awakens
do
alone.
you really think Cosmonaut is really that intelligent to think of these arguments?
He's really at the forefront of these opinions of the fans when they make those ideas. It's like, yeah, sure, this is the man.
Yeah, I'm willing to put money on he's going to go to Luke.
Demonizing Luke, that's one they definitely go to.
I don't think demonizing, but gonna point a lot of fingers to say, well, doing whataboutisms. Like, say, oh, you have this problem with Rey. What about Luke? Oh, Luke was incredibly bland. Luke did everything.
Forgetting all the context of what Luke went through. Yeah, that's totally something I would see happening.
Mary Sue.
Anyway, Rey immediately wins Han over with her unexplainable resourcefulness and her sudden unexplainable superpiloting capabilities and her knowledge of fixing a ship that's unexplainably more extensive than his own.
Who's so good at everything, it makes her character completely uncompelling.
Oh, is he going to do a parallel between Luke? That's what it's seeming like it's going. Oh, she's so awesome. Like, look at all these abilities Rey uses. And then he's going to say, well, look at all the abilities Luke has. Yeah, okay, I'm waiting for that.
He's going to go to Luke using the Force in the cave.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like where he's going with this setup. He's going to go right to Luke.
And then by the time the movie ended, I was like, how did she know how to do a mind trick? How did she pull the lightsaber?
Good questions.
Good questions. It makes sense, man.
It doesn't make sense.
Mary Sue.
Yeah, that usually, unironically, that tends to be the defense of Rey's overpowered nature. It makes sense.
Was that a YouTuber? She looked familiar. Like she looked
Jane Nichols. She looked kind of like Jane Nichols. That's what it looks like.
Kind of, yeah.
It kind of looked like her, yeah. I don't know if that was, but it looked like her. And this guy, I'm with this guy. How can she do all that stuff?
Makes sense, man.
Isn't that Jenny Nichols? Looks very close.
It's very close. I don't know.
It looks a lot like her. Yeah. The guy's in the right though. It makes no sense, and it doesn't make any sense in in canon and Star Wars lore. You have to have training. Like it's a huge establishment in Star Wars lore. You have to have training to do all this stuff. You can't just walk around and get told that martial arts exists by a master, and then you can suddenly snap necks. It doesn't work.
Apparently it is her. She used to work on Screen Junkies.
Alrighty. This explains her popularity. Anyway, Alex Halo, thank you, sir. A good question for never.
Did you know, Guy? Did you know that the 5-point palm exploding heart technique exists? Oh, let me do it real quick. Yeah, that's kind of what Rey did. Someone just told her about told her stories about the 5-point palm exploding heart technique, and then they go, someone told her, that actually exists, and she found out it existed, and then she can just do it with no training or no one showing her how to do it. She just learns that that actually is a thing that exists, and then she can just do it now. Like she just absorbed the information from the ether, and that is usually the defense. It's not. It makes sense for these reasons because they can't do that because it doesn't make sense within Star Wars canon. It just makes sense, man.
It makes sense, man. It makes sense, man.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't make sense.
Mary Sue.
Ray is a Mary Sue, and she has no right being so good at everything.
She is. That's correct. She is a Mary Sue, and she has no right of being good at
that we have been previously shown in Star Wars.
Oh, here we go. You're right, Shiny. He's going
he's going to go to Luke, and he's going to go to Anakin. He's
going to Luke right to Anakin. Yeah.
Hey there, Dunn. How's it going, buddy?
What's up? Sorry, it took me a minute to get here.
You have to get into the mindset of Cosmonaut Variety Hour and the time
I don't watch him.
He made these videos. Well, unfortunately, I used to, and I definitely regret that.
So it's Rey is fine
only
because
watched his
he's
Spider-Man video.
So I'm going to go ahead and guess here. So Rey's fine because Luke and Anakin exist, and he's going to remove all context from the stories of Luke and Anakin, so that they get more like give it a more parallel to Rey's story, because Rey's story really has no context. That's why people think that she's Mary Sue, because she is one, because she has no context. There is no training. There is no anything. She's just good at things. So that's my guess. He's going to say, Luke, Rey is fine because of Luke. Rey is fine because of Anakin. Completely disregarding the fact that Luke had training, and completely disregarding that even Anakin had years and years and years and years of training before the second episode of the prequel
and he
series.
Still had his ass handed to him and his hand chopped off.
He still got defeated. When was Rey ever defeated? Until she got defeated in the third movie and still won. That's how much of a Mary Sue she is. She lost and still won.
Which was that again?
She got defeated.
Snoke when she was getting tossed around by Snoke.
She lost to Kylo. She lost to Kylo in the third movie a little bit, and then like he right before he was about to win, he had that vision of his mom.
Oh yeah, that's not a defeat though. That's not a defeat.
She was about to lose, and then he got a random vision that stopped him from winning, and then she won.
Yeah, I love how she stabs him like while he's crying over his dead mother. That's like, oh my god, my mum's dead. Oh my fucking god, you stabbed me.
Well, to be fair, that's completely only within the context of the audience. Rey has no idea what's going on.
Still a cheap shot, though.
Oh, you're about to kill me, and then you just decide not to.
And Rey actually knows that Leia is dead. Because she can feel it.
Yeah.
Anakin Skywalker is literally born without a father, just like Jesus was. He's naturally the best pilot in the galaxy, the best swordsman, the most powerful.
Okay, he's intentionally using Final Fantasy VI combat music. This is pissing me off.
And he gets his hand chopped off. He gets his ass handed to him, and you know what happens? He falls to the dark side, and he becomes Vader.
Everything about
he does some pretty bad things.
He is so flawed. He falls to the dark side. That's not a Mary Sue.
When in the first episode did he have a lightsaber? Like when in the first episode did little child Anakin have a lightsaber and fight with it?
In the first episode, he just can fly an N1 starfighter because he pod raced.
That was really stupid.
Yeah, it was stupid. But
he taught how to fight with a lightsaber. He did have, to the credit of Anakin Skywalker, kid Anakin Skywalker, he's been pod racing for a long time. And he's had a lot of experience with ships. Now, it was still really stupid, and that was pretty much a Mary Sue moment. But there was not proven that he was the best pilot in the galaxy. And definitely by episode 1 was not proven that he was the best swordsman. In fact, in episode 2, we got to see him fight. Sure, but he doesn't seem like he's on the better level than any average Jedi. Instead, he gets his hands chopped off, or he gets his hand chopped off and loses to Dooku. Pretty easily, I would say.
And then he loses to Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan in the third episode. So Anakin in the movies doesn't really win any of his duels. At least not the important ones. He won against Dooku at the beginning of the third movie, and that's basically it.
Yeah, not a Mary Sue.
Force user, he single-handedly destroys the entire Trade Federation army on his own when he was 9 years old.
Now, we've made the argument before that in the first film, he has very, very many Mary Sue qualities. The problem is they're explained by the midichlorian retcon, which is a bad thing to do with a retcon, but it does explain why he's able to do these things. It does not explain...
The character as a whole is not a Mary Sue, especially because, the whole falling to the dark side thing.
Well, he's a kid here. He's an innocent little kid, and he's doing amazing things, and that's the problem. The explanation's poor, but there is an explanation. So that's why we don't rate him too high in the Mary Sue index, even though I would argue he is very much Mary Sue in the first movie. The second and third, definitely not.
Using this like episode 1 Anakin as a defense of Rey, because as everyone knows,
he's talking about Anakin as a whole. Really, he's talking about all the films, and even the Clone Wars.
Yeah, right. The all beloved prequel films that the fans loved, and now I hate the sequels films because Rey's a woman or whatever.
He's very much ignoring the fact that a lot of fans really don't like the prequels.
Not the prequels either. It was a big thing. It's almost, you could say, arguably, it's the reason why Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney in the first place. The prequels were not well loved either, Cosmonaut. I don't see how this is a defense, or at least a good one.
Here is John Lemley. Anakin is Vegeta. Changed my mind.
Vegeta.
I don't know what to say to that.
Let's keep going.
Okay, thanks, John.
There's a movie Bob thing where he's like, he was talking about the Joker, and then he jumps to Vegeta for some reason.
I guess I don't know what to say about Vegeta. He's kind of I think all the characters in Dragon Ball, they show them powering up and training, so it's at least a thing they have in common. They don't just get powers out of nowhere. They actually have to work for it.
Goku's constantly training. because if he doesn't, he's so powerful that if he doesn't constantly train, he'll lose his powers. I think that's what they said, and they said that he needs to train, or else he'll lose his overwhelming strength, because he still needs to train, and if you don't use your muscles, they kind of go away.
Here is Skids. R2 piloted the ship the most in the Phantom Menace. I'm trying to remember. That was right when he got into the ship, when he was in the palace or whatever you want to call that place.
That was mostly the autopilot, but it was definitely Anakin when he blew up the ship.
Yeah, it's after he's gone into orbit. The autopilot takes him all the way in this. I don't know how that you have a predestined path that all the ships are on, and they're programmed into the ship, and off you go in orbit.
No, I don't understand why they have an autopilot. I just don't understand why it was on by default.
Kind of strange to go. I mean, you're talking about exit from orbit, or rather from atmosphere. So imagine a little kid getting all these G-forces, trying to exit the atmosphere all the way. And then all of a sudden he's in space, like, hey, cool, I'm in space. Like, okay. I know spaceships in Star Wars are a lot more sophisticated, and all the amenities and problems of space travel are solved. But it's still like, oh, we're in space now. Okay, there's no big deal for a kid. All autopilot. And then R2 takes over, I guess. I don't think so.
I don't think R2 takes over. I very much think it's Anakin.
I think he tells R2 to turn it off. Anyway.
He's the chosen one, and everyone knows he's very important. This is like a bad D&D character. The prequels are easy to pick on, right? So let's look at something else. Luke Skywalker lived in the fucking desert and did nothing but shoot rats. But
that's not true.
He's also the only pilot other than Wedge Antilles who survives the trench run, and he lands a shot that is impossibly
because he used the
hard to land.
Force.
None of that is true. He just took away all the context of Luke. Yeah, he's a guy who lives in the desert and shot rats. That's not what Luke Skywalker was. It only works as an argument if you've never watched the movie. If you've never seen New Hope, then that might work. If you've seen New Hope, you know that Cosmonaut is taking away all the context from Luke Skywalker's life, because he was a farmer who had to develop many skills. He had a mentor, by the way, of Lars, his uncle, the Lars Ranch or whatever it is, Lars Farm, his Uncle Owen. What do you think farmers teach their kids? Yeah, they teach their kids a variety of skills to, farm. And not only that, they live in a hostile area. They live in a hostile world of Tatooine, where they have to kind of fend for themselves. So obviously he's going to learn how to use a gun. We've seen him; he's able to work with droids, and it's been made a point several times during the movie that Luke Skywalker is a top-notch pilot, and it was made a point that his dad, I think, was also a top-notch pilot. This is why so many people were so concerned with the lineage of Rey, because where'd she come from? We can accept her having all these skills if she had the right parents, because it's not about special blood; it's about where you came from. It's about what talents your parents had, because that would explain Rey's overpowered nature. But you don't give us that.
Obi-Wan specifically said he was a good friend, amazing pilot, and they sort of think, I heard you're a good pilot yourself.
Yeah, he says. He's like, I've heard you become a good pilot yourself, and that's why, by the way, Luke wants to go to the academy, because he's a really good pilot. He loves piloting. That's his like some people might be Star Wars geeks or Star Trek geeks. Luke Skywalker was a piloting geek. Like, he loved it. That's why he wanted to go to the academy in the first place. All of his friends went off to the academy. Same academy, by the way. It's like almost like he made a lot of friends who had the same interests as him, piloting. And then we get to see him face off with Han Solo, where Han Solo is like, what are you going to do, kid? Fly it yourself? He's like, I very well could, probably. I'm a really good pilot.
Also, kind of the example that he says that a dust crop is similar in terms of the piloting makeup to an X-Wing. So it explains why he's able to fly an X-Wing really well, is because he's practiced on something with an equivalent
I would say that's not in the film exactly, but you do see the Skyhopper in the background of the film.
Yeah. There's also a reference
in the background in the world. It's in like novels and shit. It explains that they're both made by the same company.
Yeah, there's also a reference.
Is there a line of dialogue that says that they're similar?
I don't remember. I think it was extended, but they show it. They show the film shot of him playing with that little toy, and in the background they added it. The actual, if you look at the toy, it's like the exact replica of the model in the background. So that's the thing he flies, and the controls apparently are exactly the same as the X-Wing. So controlling the X-Wing is pretty much the same. But there was a line of dialogue that was added in the 97 edition where there's this, I think, was it Biggs? He's talking to one of the captains. He's like, Luke is the best bush pilot in the Outer Rim territories. It's like, okay, so he's really good. So
I'd say he's probably being hyperbolic there, but it's
sure. But even Obi-Wan knows, like everyone knows Luke's great. So we have this knowledge in the narrative telling us that Luke's a great pilot, and he's accepted into the Rebels because of his skills. So he's already established as being this champion of one thing, and he's very good at shooting too. And that's also a reference.
Putting wall press back home. I guess he's like, oh, it's an impossible shot to make. And then Luke says, no, I've been doing that for a long time. It's totally possible. You just need to be, practiced at it, and Luke is practiced at it.
Now, there's another argument people might like to invent with him using the Force to make the shot. Like the Force helps him when to shoot, not guiding the missiles to the hole. If that was
mine is your instinct.
Yeah, it's your instincts on when to fire. Yeah, they wouldn't.
Skill enhancer rather than the hand of God.
Exactly, they wouldn't put all these pilots in jeopardy if they were going to wait for this one guy to get the one shot that uses magical powers to make the shot. No, they gave everyone a targeting computer. They all knew how to do it. I think it was Biggs or Wedge who makes the shot and misses. So implying there was a solution.
The whole thing about Luke in this particular scene is that it's not, when he uses the Force, it's not to do the work for him. It's just he's using the Force to enhance his natural abilities.
Yes, exactly.
Guide him.
Give him natural abilities. Yeah, guide him. Not give him abilities he didn't otherwise have, but enhance his natural abilities. He's not dominating minds with mind tricks he never learned about. He's not beating trained trained people, trained warriors with lightsabers in lightsaber combat, having first just taken up a lightsaber to begin with. He's not doing any of that. He's not gaining knowledge from the ether. He's just enhancing his natural abilities.
Like in the grand scheme of abilities, it's much weaker than, let's say, it's like calming yourself and letting it guide you is different to mind tricking. It's different to force push and pull. It's different to using a lightsaber.
It's the idea of focusing your mind to do something very simple, like pulling a lightsaber a few meters away from you stuck in the ice. Or
my favorite defense of Rey against Luke in the New Hope has been, he only trains for like 5 minutes. First of all, it's not true. He goes intense training for not that long, but he gets some training. And also, you're just waving away the fact that he trained for 5 minutes. You know what? Who didn't have 5 minutes of training? Rey. Rey had 0 minutes of training.
Even then, I think the film is actually Empire Strikes Back takes place over the course of a few days. We don't see it taking a few days because it's cut down to hours because it's a film.
I mean, in New Hope,
it is a few days that it's going by, and even then, Luke doesn't finish his training. He goes off and gets his ass handed to him.
In New Hope, when he's training with Obi-Wan, he has those little the helmet and the blaster shield where he can't see through it, so he gets the little taste of what it means to use the Force, which is why he's not destroying starships or anything.
It's actually established early on in the film. He uses the Force to guide him when he's blocking the shots when his visor's closed.
He couldn't do it on his own. He couldn't do it on his own at first. It was through the knowledge and wisdom of Obi-Wan that he was able to look within himself and complete that task.
Yeah, I didn't even see the connection between Luke focusing in earlier on in the film and then Luke focusing to get the shot in the Death Star run.
It was all set up.
That's another connection I made.
It was all set up in the movie. Everything was set up in the movie. Everything that happens in the end of the movie was early on in the movie. What that doesn't happen is Force Awakens with Rey. She's just awesome. She's just you have the awesome skill. The only thing that's set up early in the movie is that she's already awesome. That's the only thing that's set up early on in the movie.
Another thing gives context to this. New Hope is Cosmonaut's favorite Star Wars movie. So, weird that he's trying to bring this up. It's weird that he thinks that he's trying to pull this out when he loves it. He said,
because it's a whataboutism.
Yeah, it's horrible.
He's saying, what about this? What about that? And a lot of the pattern we've seen with these people is that they'll often tear down the old things to try and prop the new things up.
Here is John Lemley. This is a very good point. honestly, Luke having to learn the Force isn't even the main reason why he's able to destroy the Force. Okay. If Han Solo doesn't save him, he would be dead. And that's right.
Oh, yeah, that is true as well.
Yeah, that's right at the ending where he's about to take the shot and Darth Vader is encroaching on him. And Han Solo comes out of nowhere and knocks him out and allows Luke to take the shot. So Han is like Luke's the hero's hero. He's the secondary character, comes out of nowhere, saves the day. So very important to the story. That's what I like about plot integrity. If Han wasn't there, Luke wouldn't have won. Luke would have died. Death Star would have kept on going. So that's what I like about stories that have minor characters or secondary characters that are vital to the plot. So if you take them out, the whole story falls apart. And that's why Star Wars on plot alone is great. Because you're giving the plot value to your primary and secondary characters. The secondary character is intentionally helping the primary character, not in the most believable way, but in a way that adds value to the scene. And that's what makes it beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of context being removed here by Cosmonaut.
For sure, yeah. Well, you can only do so much in a 25-minute video, right?
Yeah.
Here is Lord Yin.
I don't know. I managed to make, what is it, like a 10-minute video ripping on the first episode of Lower Decks.
Yeah.
I managed to make arguments, not removed to context. I actively shown evidence of what I was talking about.
Our standards are a bit different, Shiny. That's okay. I'm sure Cosmo has his own high standards.
His own lack of standards, I'll say.
Lack of high standards. Okay. Here's Lord Yin. Luke was implied to have been on Dagobah for several weeks, perhaps even a month. That was episode 5, I believe. It's a range of time between 2 weeks and like 6 months, because the traveling time between Dagobah and what was the other place he had to go to after leaving was really far.
Cloud City.
Yeah, was it Cloud City? I can't recall. It was pretty far.
I think it was.
There's something like 4 months or something, which is ridiculous because we know in hyperspace things happen very, very quickly to travel. So I don't know the exact details, but that's the estimated time. We don't know the exact time, but there was a lot of time that allowed him to train. Skids, thank you, sir. Cosmonaut Variety Hour. Rey, not Mary Sue. Also, Cosmonaut Variety Hour. Sabine is Mary Sue. Really?
Well, the thing is about Sabine, I don't think she's Mary Sue. She's just incredibly bland. There's very little character development there, or any character at all.
Who's again? I forgot.
Sabine Wren from Star Wars Rebels.
So his argument is, what Cosmo argues about Sabine Wren is that she's a Mandalorian. She has perfect hair.
Oh, no, I do remember this. He doesn't call her a Mary Sue, but he says she's like a D&D character where, it has this, and it also has this, and she has a dark saber, and she has this, that, and the other. And that's also removed in context. She doesn't have the dark saber for very long. The only closest part I can think to her being a Mary Sue is when she defeats a Mandalorian who's like Gar Saxon. You remember the Mandalorian from Star Wars: The Clone Wars?
No, she cannot be Gar Saxon.
Gar Saxon, the guy who has got the horns on his helmet and the gory visor.
If anyone, I remember Gar Saxon. That's a cool name.
Yeah, she basically kicks Gar Saxon's ass.
I don't know, maybe he has a point there. I don't know.
I would like to say that having a dark saber is a very Mary Sue thing.
Well, the dark saber, she only has it for a little while, and then she gives it to what's her name?
Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan.
Really? Okay.
And she gives it up to Bo-Katan, and then we don't see it again till the Mandalorian. So I wouldn't say there's enough there to say that she has some Mary Sue moments, but the character flat out is not a Mary Sue. She's just incredibly bland with no character development, with nothing at all.
All right, let's keep going.
They mention multiple times that it's hard to land this shot.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
Oh, he's also really good at shooting a laser
That's
gun.
an
He's capable of
exaggeration.
using the Force with no training
an
whatsoever.
exaggeration. Yeah.
Also,
No, he still has
without
training.
ever having used
training.
the turret on the Millennium Falcon, he's able to
crap.
defeat a squadron of trained TIE fighter pilots.
But he misses.
never even-
You just shown a shot where he misses.
Just, maybe no, don't show the shot where he misses when he's saying that he's a perfect shot. Or he's trained.
Apparently, I am wrong. He does straight up say Mary Sue. I'll take that back because I remember watching the video he references, but I don't. It's been a long time. I don't remember it. It's very much.
Don't mind Cosmonaut Variety Hour over here, just trimming away all the context of Luke Skywalker's story so that Rey can look good in comparison.
I think the exact quote the Cosmonaut says is she couldn't. The only way she could be more of a Mary Sue is if she were a Jedi. I think is what.
Also, remember the moment when Rey gets a 3 kill in one shot.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. That's
then compare that to Luke, who's constantly missing all the time.
Look how he showed the moment where Luke gets beaten up and captured by a Wampa, and then scarred on his face. Like, when does that ever happen to Rey? He barely makes it out alive. He almost got beaten by wildlife. When does that ever happen to Rey? She can't be beaten by Sith Lords, let alone wildlife. The only time that really happened was in the third movie, and she not only defeats the wildlife creature, like the big worm thing, she heals it and sends it on its way. That's really the only time she's ever had that happen. And Luke Skywalker, he got defeated by a Wampa. Like, he got defeated by a Wampa. The Wampa
was going to eat him.
It was going to eat him, yeah. Rey, no defeats, except that one time she got captured, and then it turned out to be even better because she got all the knowledge in the world from Kylo Ren's brain. And then she just rescued herself.
Stop removing context.
So
and then she just rescued herself. And so Cosmonaut Variety Hour is just trimming away all the context of Luke Skywalker's story and character so that you can to make the people who don't like Rey look like hypocrites for not liking her, despite the fact that it's not about gender. It's not about the fact that it's new or popular. It's about the fact that there's so much substance and context to Luke Skywalker's story, and there's none of that in Rey's.
Here is John Lemley. Thank you, sir. Guys, Palpatine is a Mary Sue. He's so powerful that he can electrocute himself, and YouTube hates
Melt his own face.
Yeah. What is up with Palpatine?
People are still talking about Sabine being a Mary Sue, but even then, I don't think she has enough of a character to be a Mary Sue. Ezra, there's a much bigger point to me about Ezra being a Mary Sue. I don't even think Ezra is a Mary Sue, but he's incredibly annoying, and I fucking hate him.
I don't like Ezra either. I prefer Kanan.
The thing to be a Mary Sue, your character often has to be doing things in the world, be revolving around. They're always doing absolutely fantastic, and they don't have any flaws. She doesn't have enough character, and she doesn't do enough to earn the rank of Mary Sue. She's somewhere below that.
She still beats Garl Saxon.
Yeah, that's the closest you can get.
It's kind of like the Mary Poppins argument.
It's in season 5 at least. Like,
what?
Series.
There isn't a season 5 of Rebels. It ends in season 4. It's season 3 that she kicks Gar Saxon's ass.
Anywho, what I was going to say was that the Mary Poppins argument, the focus of the narrative is not on Mary Poppins, despite being this superpowered, strange lady who comes out of nowhere, who can fly and do all these other amazing things. So it's when the focus is put on a character and the plot is revolving around them at that point that you see these problems and questions that arise from that. How'd you get so
Mary
powerful?
Poppins isn't the protagonist as
Exactly.
well.
Yes. The story is about the children
protagonist
and the
family as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about Mary Poppins. She just comes in to help. As she's hired help, essentially. And she's just really, really good at her job, but it's not about her. So that's what I say about, a secondary character. They're not that. If Finn was a Mary Sue and he's a secondary character, you might think differently about him being good or bad because he's not the focus. And Rey was constantly losing, and Finn is trying to teach her stuff about the world and how to fight. That would be different. That'd be rather interesting, actually. A trained stormtrooper who knows better, is better than everyone else, decides I'm going to be a morally outstanding person and leave with my amazing skills in hacking and subterfuge, so I don't kill any of my fellow child soldiers leaving the ship. And
so basically, in that scenario, Finn would just be taking the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the mentor role.
The mentor role, yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's as if Rey should have had a mentor or something.
It would have worked. It would have been pretty simple.
So it wouldn't have It would have helped because it makes it so that Finn is an actual character rather than a black black comic relief stereotype.
That was so disappointing. When I first saw the trailer, I saw, oh, cool, a stormtrooper. It's gonna be cool. One of the stormtroopers is gonna be a main character. It's gonna be so interesting because you're gonna see the mind of how a stormtrooper thinks and how this works. Nope, he just escapes being a stormtrooper and then just becomes black stereotype number 10,051. What a horrible thing they did. All this potential is cut away for some reason.
It was an interesting trailer. That reveal was a big deal, and that was a lot of hype generated from that too. So
I was actually excited. Oh, cool! A main character being a stormtrooper. That's going to be interesting. But no, it could have been, but it wasn't. Because he's a regular character.
They do bollocks all with it.
Yeah, I'm still bitter about that. Actually, I didn't not like with the direction it took Finn at all because he had so much potential and it squandered every last drop of it.
I think he really should have been the main character.
I think we really liked the clone theories. Like maybe he's a different kind of clone. Maybe they brought a new batch. All these other ideas of who this guy is and all that. It's like, oh, he's just a kid.
Having the clones, having an army of stormtrooper clones would have made much more sense of how they just have an army out of nowhere.
Yes, I know. There's so many
Especially
ways.
as happened before, where the army of the clones came out of nowhere essentially and said, "Hey, look, we have an army for you. We built it in secret."
Think of the history and logistics of capturing children and training them for years, as opposed to clones, which are like a few years tops.
It's 10 years.
Really?
It would be to grow a batch of clones.
And of course,
they age twice as fast, so they to get to the age of 20.
So JJ would like supercharge that into like a year and a half or something stupid, right? Because it's JJ.
Oh, see, there's even more clones now.
They're twice the size. They have twice the power. They only need half the food. It's all these other
that'd
stupid
be
things.
just an army of Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
That'd be amazing.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson play the next Clone Troopers. Go on, do it.
Everyone's a heavy trooper.
I want Dwayne the Rock. I want the Rock to play all the new clones. And I want him to play the American Doctor Who.
Whoa.
No, you don't get the American Doctor Who for Dwayne the Rock Johnson. You get Danny DeVito for the American Doctor Who.
I want the American Doctor Who to be the Rock.
No, you get Danny DeVito
with the Gatling gun.
No,
it would
Danny
be
DeVito has guns. He's blasting.
No. If you make the sonic screwdriver a Gatling, a minigun that the Rock just.
Well, no, he has
awesome.
A sonic minigun. That'd be good. That'd be the American thing. That'd be so American.
No.
I'm just imagining his companion would just be in a constant American bikini all the time.
Yeah, that'll work. It'd probably do better. It'd definitely do better than the British version.
Yeah, good.
Which would be really embarrassing.
Or get Genesis Rodriguez on there. Genesis Rodriguez would.
I remember when they tried to make Torchwood American and it really failed.
Yeah, they should do the British writing, but they try to make it American. That's why when the Americans tried to do anime writing, it didn't work.
No, they didn't try to. It wasn't writing it British because it was awful. But they tried to make it really American for some random reason.
Well, they tried to.
Like they got American actors, they got American writers. They weren't trying to write it like the old show at all.
It was just that's why it was so weird. It was so weird. It had the same sort of mentality that it had to begin with, but it was so different, disconnected.
All right, here's John Lemley. Lando is a slick, womanizing backstabber in Empire Strikes Back, and is somehow less of a stereotyped character than what Finn turned out to be. That's because Lando's attractive. We like Lando. We get him. We know why he's doing what he's doing. With Finn,
he's really...
Yeah, Finn is...
Looks like we've got someone spamming in chat. Put them in timeout.
Thank you, Shiny. No problem there. Another one from John Lemley. Jack from BioShock. Okay, was only like 2 years old, so his maturation process would be perfect for a JJ movie. Well, I'm trying to remember. Jack is the main character, I believe. So, how old? Yeah, when does he grow? I don't remember when he grows up. I'd have to think about that. Been a while since I played it. Yeah, JJ would probably ruin BioShock. Oh my god, just imagining if they go to video games and they think, "Hey, let's give it to."
Oh god,
give it to
do you
JJ.
know something which is absolutely horrifying? Valve said that if they ever wanted to make a film to do with Half-Life or Portal, they would give it to J.J. Abrams.
Whoa!
So that way they can be terrible and everyone just go to the games. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Brilliant idea. Spend $1 million.
That was coming straight from Gabe Newell as well, the head of Valve.
Spend what is it, $50 million on a horrible movie to make $60 million in people re-downloading Half-Life 2. Because Half-Life 3 is never coming out, guys. It's never going to happen.
No, we've got Half-Life Alyx. They're currently working on another Half-Life VR game.
That's cool. I mean, that was expected. Like, some company would have done a good VR experience, and I think that's the standard we have. But
a lot of companies have been doing good VR experiences. Just Half-Life Alyx is the best VR experience.
Yes, exactly.
Ben in a for. In the third movie, he goes on to defeat Darth Vader without any formal lightsaber training
But Vader's not trying to kill him. He's purely on the defensive, and he's not prepared for Luke using his dark side.
How does he know he has no formal lightsaber training? Because he, at the end of the second movie, Yoda doesn't die in the second movie, does he? I'm pretty sure Yoda dies in the third movie. Yeah, so Luke has spent an unrecorded amount of time with training with Yoda, and Yoda taught him whatever. He taught him he could have taught him anything at that time. Like here's how do you fight with a lightsaber. He could have had formal lightsaber training. We don't need to see the entire training. Well, the training montage in Rocky kind of works. You don't need to see everything.
Well, we see
everything
3 films worth before he gets the fight scene with Vader at the end there. So we know he's good. We know he's experienced.
I mean, you don't need to see like him going through the forms of actually going through the lightsaber. Whatever it is, all we need to know is that Luke Skywalker has a mentor, and that he's training under a mentor, and that there's some time there where he's training, where he's learning all the techniques from this Grand Master. That's all we need to know.
When we see him again, he is a fully realized Jedi Master. He believes himself to be a Jedi Knight or a Jedi Master anyway. I think he says Knight. I don't think he says Master. Actually, thinking about it. He's a realized Jedi Knight. He's finished his training. He's constructed his lightsaber. He's going around kicking ass. And I think that was the whole point of the first half of the film, was to show how much Luke has evolved and became badass.
It's almost as if he learned something between the second movie and the third movie, because he was training under a Grand Master this entire time. Interesting.
It's simple to apply.
Maybe Obi-Wan did his ghosty goo, and he said, "Hey, hold your lightsaber a bit higher. Do a spin. That's really cool. It's a good trick. Learn that from your father."
Here's John Lemley with some BioShock lore. Thank you, John. Fontaine has Suchong and Tenenbaum accelerate Jack's development so he can have the physical makeup of a 19-year-old at only 1. He was born in 1958, and the game takes place in 1960. That is news to me. I'm trying to remember the story. I know it's a very strange thing. I know that Jack was created for a particular reason, and that was to be conditioned to kill the man of Andrew Ryan of Rapture. So,
old Andrew Ryan.
Yeah.
Andrew Ryan. Still need to play BioShock. I've heard good things.
BioShock is a classic. Same with Infinite. I skipped the second game, so I didn't know much about it. But definitely the first one, for sure.
I have a question. How many franchises are going to take before people realize you don't hire J.J. Abrams?
Quite a few, I imagine.
I don't think there's anything left for him to ruin.
Batman? I'm pretty sure he could go.
They would never give him
I'm pretty sure someone could have said, "Oh yeah, we can't destroy Star Wars anymore." He comes in, smashes that. "Oh look, we can't destroy Star Trek." Smashes that.
He's probably going to, at most, a Marvel film.
I think because there was talks about him possibly getting a DC film. It's possible. And then
I think
again, when it came to Half-Life and Portal, him say Gabe Newell saying, "Hell yeah, we're interested in talking to JJ. We're doing a Portal or Half-Life film."
I think that it's not really that JJ himself ruins them. It's that he does it so badly that he sets up other people to ruin it, like Ryan Johnson. And
No. JJ Abrams is a complete fucking hack. No, I don't know, because it's Star Trek, he didn't set anyone else up to fail it. He failed Star Trek himself. You've done that yourself.
Well, it seems as though Alex Kurtzman has done more damage than JJ.
Yes.
No, the film is what... The film's already fucked up a lot before the TV shows. A lot. Okay,
compare a series of 2.5-hour films, so 3 of them? You made 3 films for Star Trek, right?
Yeah, Alex Kurtzman has made worse material, but J.J. Abrams was still fucking with shit.
He's still on a higher budget, on a higher scale.
Other people up to ruin things.
Yes,
he's actively still fucking with things.
In terms of quantity, I think Alex Kurtzman has definitely hit a lot more different...
Well, that's because people keep fucking hiring Alex Kurtzman as well.
There's many reasons.
Hiring people.
Yeah, Mr. Kurtzman sucks. Kurtzman ruined Spider-Man back in the day, but thankfully it had a resurgence with Tom Holland.
What was Kurtzman had something to do with the Amazing Spider-Man films?
Alex Kurtzman, Robert Orci, and Kurtzman and his writing buddy Bob Orci wrote Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Amazing Spider-Man 1.
You could have said 1 and 2 rather than saying 2 and 1.
No, there's so many. Yeah. There's so many Spider-Man movies. I've lost track. So anyway,
for a second, I couldn't remember that he brought 1 or 2, but
things, right? Well, these are all the same criticisms that are leveled against Rey.
No, they're not.
They're almost exactly the same.
No, they're not.
Everybody in Star Wars is a
Oh.
Everyone in Star Wars is a Mary Sue.
Yes, Cosmonaut Variety Hour. They sound exactly the same if you remove all the context remove all the substance and context from Luke Skywalker's story. Like if you just have the entire, like if it's like having a cake and compare.
People try to say we're disingenuous if they watch the Cosmonaut Variety Hour video.
Taking a cake and then trying to compare it to another cake, and then the other one cake is just puny and it's just basically just icing. That's all it is. And he's like, well, they're the same thing. And you just take the icing from the Luke Skywalker cake and you compare it to the icing that is the Rey cake, where there is no cake in the Rey cake. It's just icing. And he's like, look, they're the same. And you're a hypocrite if you don't like one of you like one over the other. That's not exactly what you did. You put away all the context comments about Variety Hour. They look the same if you transform them and cut away and discombobulate and disfigure Luke Skywalker's story until they're the same.
LiteratureDevil, I fundamentally disagree that what is on Rey is frosting. It's a far different liquid, and it's a biological matter.
Mary Sue just saying that we should hold all these movies to the same standard.
We do.
So let's go ahead and analyze these a bit further. Rey knows how to fix
it's not what you're saying at all.
Ships so well, but she's not a pilot. Okay, but she obviously knows how ships work. The first time we see her, she's exploring and salvaging parts.
Okay,
ripping apart a ship is very different to flying one.
This is true.
I want to put it out there, and same as repairing one.
So we have to assume because she has knowledge of ships that came from somewhere, but we don't know where from. You can't make the distinction between being a junker and being a mechanic. Those are two very different things. Yes, they're related because you're working on an object that you have knowledge of, but one is a dead object. Like imagine a broken radio, and you're taking the parts of the radio apart, whereas one is a radio repairman who actually makes the radio work.
Really does is look for a specific part which they know is going to be worth a lot of money, and they rip it out, and then they take it and sell it.
That's
they don't. It doesn't mean they actively know how to build or fix this thing. They know, hey, let's rip it out.
They know the basics of how to get the part and what the value of that part is, but they don't know how it works. And that's kind of important when you're a mechanic or an engineer or a technician. You actually have training and knowledge of, let's say, a car engine or a particular car engine from a certain make. And you go, yeah, this does this does that. I got to turn this off to fix that and replace this. As opposed to, I rip something out of the wall and now something works.
If they introduced her having her own ship, then you know what you could have assumed? She could have assumed that she knew how to fly her own ship.
There we go. That would have solved lots of problems. Not all of them, but lots. Here's Tyler Preston. Thank you, sir. Cosmonaut. What's this thing called context? Yeah, I don't know. What is that?
That's
word?
some sort of... Is he the maitre d' at the top?
Context?
Context is bad because it's just a con man.
Yeah, it's a con man. That's what exactly.
Big con. Context is a big con that everyone's been playing on you this whole time.
Here's Lieutenant Colonel Tanya van de Grushev. Cosmonaut Variety Hour teaching us about standards. I don't think he actually has standards. He never listed them. He just says, I enjoy it.
Well, he claims he's holding all these films to the same standard, but yet he's completely ignoring very important context.
Standards are just whatever his current opinion needs them to be.
From a ship, an old ship. A ship from the same era as the Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
No, it isn't.
Okay, let's imagine they're the same era. Let's just assume he's true, right? Let's say what he's saying is true. There is a little bit of a difference, between a Star Destroyer and the Millennium Falcon. Little difference. Scale is one.
Also two pilot system.
As
opposed to a 100 pilot system.
It's like comparing a rowboat to a submarine. Like, what do you...
No, it's like comparing, one of those, like, I don't know, like a boat, like one of those really fancy boats.
It's
yacht?
Like
kind of plastic and all that kind of stuff. You just use it to go around. Speedboat.
Okay.
You just have a speedboat and then you have a warship.
Or kind of like
aircraft. It's an aircraft carrier and a little speedboat.
Well, not even like a speedboat, something like an oil tanker. Since that's a small oil tanker. That's what the Falcon is. It's a freighter. It's a freighter-style smuggler ship.
Little bit of a difference there.
He removes the context, so...
Yeah, it's because they're made in the same era, therefore they're the same technology. It's like, I don't think so.
Russian tanks and American tanks, they were made in the same era, but their controls were very different.
Especially the German tanks.
German planes and British planes in World War II, they were made with very different controls, despite being made in the exact same era.
They have some of the same controls, like a joystick and your velocity and all these other dials telling you what's going on, but how they operate, how they work. Look at the guns of Germany and the guns of America. Very different. Oh, the guns of the UK, the Stens, all these various rifle designs, all very different. You understand the basics.
Luke and Rey are the exact same if you perceive them as the exact same.
Yeah, it's just like, what?
And like on Deadliest Warrior, I've seen like guns in World War I versus guns versus the German guns versus the American guns. I actually kind of like the design of the MPA-8. It's just really bulky, and just that flat, big round muzzle kind of just gets to me. But they're very different than what was coming out from America or even Britain.
So anyway, there's obviously a huge difference between a gigantic warship carrier, part of the Empire, and a freight cruiser.
Star Destroyer and a smuggling freighter are obviously way different. It can be implied that since she works on a spaceship junkyard, she may know how things work a little.
She may, but we don't know that. This is like saying because I worked in a junkyard, therefore I know a lot about junk, which comes from cars, and therefore I can fix a Ferrari. Or pick any sports car. Like, it doesn't, no.
I have never even, like, say you're in a fourth world country and you haven't seen a car.
Yeah, look at the there's I can't remember what part of India it is, but there's actually a ship graveyard city where they just break apart ships and sell the parts. They have probably no idea how to repair or put together a giant oil freighter or whatever, but they're really good at taking it apart and melting it down and whatever.
Science Fair got this right. A book that is literally for kids. Like there's these two guys from the country of Kurpskan. They're really incompetent at their job, but one of them knows how to drive, but he only knows how to drive stick shift with a clutch. And he's asking, "Where's the clutch on this car?" And he's just constantly asking where it is. It's just stupid.
But right? She seems to convey some sort of casual familiarity with the Millennium Falcon.
Some moof milker put a compressor on the ignition line.
Uncle plucked it. I thought it was a mistake too, but it's too much stress on the hyperdrive.
She obviously knows a little bit about the ship.
Yes, we get it. She knows stuff. How?
Also, that thing where she thought I knew better than my bunker expert, weird alien guy. It's like, more Mary Soup BS. It's so annoying. Why is this so annoying?
Yeah, it's not the fact she has this knowledge, it's how she has this knowledge.
She, at the very least, seems confident in flying the quad jumper.
Hey! We need a pilot!
We've got one!
She knows ships.
Okay, being confident and saying I'm confident is great. That doesn't imply she actually knows how. And if she does...
The rest of this argument is going to be Cosmonaut Variety Hour, cutting away the context from Luke and then just adding context to Rey.
Yeah.
It's shown to us from the very beginning. This is more than Luke Skywalker gets.
You bet I could. I'm not such a bad pilot myself.
Oh, good for you!
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
How is that more?
Liar. You're an absolute liar. What are you talking
about? More? Rey screams, "We've got a pilot, me." How is that better?
She's never fully...
That is less words than what is said about Luke and his piloting skills.
Obi-Wan says that you're a good pilot, and then Luke says, "Yeah, I'm a good pilot," and then he doesn't fly any ships. Han Solo still flies the ship.
If Obi-Wan knows he's a good pilot, someone must have told him that. There's a rumor going around this kid's really good with a ship.
Well, I'd assume Obi-Wan's keeping an eye on Luke as well.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, but he got that information from somewhere. So someone said this. If someone said in the narrative, I don't know,
and it's
whoever on the planet, maybe that old woman, aren't you a really good pilot? I saw you flying the other day. It's like, oh, she knows how to fly. Great. That's something.
Yeah, it's setting it up before you need it. So it's set up before Luke is piloting that he is a pilot. It's a setup. He doesn't just go straight to piloting.
And again,
it's earlier in the film.
Cosmonaut's defense of Rey is that his defense has been so far that it's set up earlier on in the movie that she's already awesome. Where Luke was being beaten up by sand people and being this belittled at every turn and just whining about his life. The only thing set up with Rey's story is that she's awesome. That she can already fly a pilot. She can already beat up 3 guys at once. She could do all these things. That's the only thing they set up in The Force Awakens. Not that she needs improvement. That to set up a character arc where she changes from a weak person to a stronger person. She's already awesome. That's the only thing they added into the movie at the beginning. So at the beginning of the movie, she's awesome. At the end of the movie, she's still awesome, just more awesome.
Or even maybe even like somebody who's traumatized and needs to get over it.
There's references from Obi-Wan, from Biggs, saying how good he is. It's not the best evidence, but if he's saying he's good, other people are saying he's good, he likes to fly. I mean, do you need to see him fly? I would love to see him fly before he gets into an X-Wing. That'd be great. Is it necessary? Not really.
It's just simply setting things up.
It's the same with...
narratively, you can set something up earlier in the film and it comes into play later in the film.
Yeah, it's the same with Sherlock Holmes. We don't know how he knows all he knows, but he knows so much. We can assume he knows some obscure information that we've never heard of before, or no one else in that world would have that kind of knowledge unless, oh yeah, no, he did talk to the Baker Street irregulars who tell him things of how he knows people go from A to B.
It's why we call it a reach when there's something. You can make small jumps from A to B, but it's a reach when you're having to go from these huge jumps.
Yes, and that's kind of the problem with Sherlock in that regard, because he has revealed knowledge or unrevealed knowledge that the audience isn't privy to, but because he's Sherlock, he has so much knowledge, he doesn't reveal it all at once, which he should, because it's a detective fiction story. You want to learn as much as you can on page or on chapter 1, and then you're allowed to pontificate and deduce with the reader or with the narrative. So that's the only problem with the Sherlock reveal of information. So with Rey, you just don't get anything. She just knows stuff. You're like, okay, how did she get to know this stuff? We have no idea. So John Lemley, thank you again. Please tell me that Maggie Mae Fish doesn't think of George Lucas's including the Sand People the same way she thinks of Zack Snyder including Muslims.
Oh gosh.
I don't. Yeah, that would be a reach.
They were on there for more than 3 seconds, so God knows what she thinks.
Yeah, they are. They're an interesting bunch. Those Sand People. They're marauders.
They're animals.
What are they? What do they do? They scavenge.
They're animals, and they get slaughtered like animals.
Yeah.
Not just the men, but the women and the children too.
Yes. The Sand People.
I think originally in Legends they were actually just people in robes.
I do recall them having a much more different culture or bigger culture in KOTOR, but it was only one level of the desert planet. I can't remember what it was called, but we saw a little bit of their culture, how they all have to make their own staff and their masks they wear and all the other things there. So, yeah, not much to know about the Sand People. Very mysterious.
And they come back in greater numbers.
This criticism falls under category 2. Invalid. Oh, well, Rey knows how to use the Force without any training. Explain that. I should first mention that it is commonly shown in the Star Wars series that people can use the Force without training.
Use the Force.
Okay, there's a big difference.
We just went over this. It sets up earlier in the story when fucking Obi-Wan is actively training Luke
right.
to block laser bolts.
Exactly.
So the Force is guiding him, and that was him being taught to have the Force guide him there, and it's him guiding the Force here.
So Luke was actually trained in this specific technique, or mind technique, whatever you want to call timing, as well. There's a big difference between feeling the Force and telekinesis. There's a bit difference there.
And mind tricks.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker couldn't pull the lightsaber back to him until the second movie, and then it took a lot of concentration, a lot of work to do it. He wasn't just not only was he not able to pull the lightsaber back toward him, he wasn't defeating and outforcing other guys who have better and more training in the Force than he did.
Rey just does it like that, and Rey did struggle to do the mind trick at the beginning, but even then, she still should not have been able to do the mind trick because that is a Jedi, a very higher tier Jedi Force power.
Yeah, so Rey,
the ones who have trained their entire lives still struggle to do the mind trick and often can't do it until they're a Jedi Knight.
So power out of nowhere,
the difference,
and overpowering someone else are two extreme examples, which makes her a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah, to think about, like, to overpower someone's mind and to give it to suggest them to think or do something else, that is quite a powerful thing, and that would take a lot of training to actually learn.
Especially when you're talking about Kylo Ren, to be able to not only suddenly do the same thing he can do, but better, not only through the mind, but
I was more referring to when she just mind tricks the stormtrooper to let her go.
Oh, that's fine. I could buy that because stormtrooper, not Force user, fine, whatever. But
no, because it's still an active mind trick.
Oh, sure, but she was overpowering Kylo Ren in two cases, one with the mind and one with the lightsaber, which the second one doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. If the first one was bad enough, right?
There's actually in Wheel of Time, there's actually something like this, but they actually Wheel of Time is kind of an example of how to do something like this right. There are two types of things that people who are naturally gifted with magic are able to do. Sometimes it's like power of suggestion, where they just like maybe like a girl wants a dress or a treat or something, and they just use accidentally use convince magic on their dad or their parent or something. And then there's like either movement or creating a talent. And just sometimes it's like random. It's based on what they want, but it's infrequent, and they usually will get sick afterward.
Dunn,
they don't.
I do want to point out that this is Star Wars working off of existing continuity. I think it would be fine, Rey being able to do all these things if it was part of a new slot. Not fine per se, but more acceptable if this was a brand new continuity. There was nothing there before. It was a completely separate film. It wasn't Star Wars. And Rey just was able to do these abilities. And that would be fine, because we haven't had any frame of reference to understand how the Force powers levels are, to understand how much training you need to do with this, that, and the other. But the problem is we do have so many references of how difficult it is to do these abilities, of how to learn, to train, to do these things. Because Jedis train their entire lives just to be able to do these things. But Rey can do it like that.
Here is
exactly. There's even in of time with like natural people who are naturals, somebody who is trained can whoop them, and like very easily, because they don't know all the tricks, and they are able to like. There's like some like natural things, but it's weak, and they can't really do much. They can't convince somebody who like is really able to who is like defensive. It has to be. It's usually somebody who's like not very weak, very strong-willed. It's usually, but it's like it's infrequent, and it's like very, very weak, especially compared to like something where there's actual like what's called weaves or spells that can actually rob somebody of their will and make them your slave.
Wasn't she able to defeat Aang in the series? Wasn't she able to defeat him in the series?
So who, what, where?
Azula able to defeat Aang in the series?
Yeah, she strikes him with lightning and he dies, and then he's brought back with the spirit water.
And Aang is literally the Avatar. He's literally the chosen one. That's his whole role, is to be the chosen one. He can do all these awesome. He has an innate talent. He is all the Avatars, and she still defeats him because she is both talented and very, very skilled and trained. She trains all the time.
But I've got a question for you now. Is Azula a villain, Sue?
No.
I would say so.
I wouldn't think so, because she's very competent, but she doesn't just automatically gain new skills. She has one set of skills, and she uses those sets of skills throughout she has some very highly elevated skill sets.
Yeah, she goes batshit crazy as well, which I wouldn't classify as her being a villain.
She doesn't really have any friends. She has Ty Lee and May, but they're really her friends out of fear. So she has skills, but those same skills they come with drawbacks. So she's not able to connect with people the way Zuko can. She can't really care for people the way Zuko can, which is why Zuko, being like the lesser in skill and fighting technique, is able to outdo her in forms of friendship and human relationships, and why people kind of look up to him more than basically he can siphon love from people, or at least with May, or whatever her name is. I think May or Mai, one of those two. She loves him. All right, she loves him. Because Zuko can inspire love from people, whereas Azula can only inspire fear from people. So her skill set is highly elevated, where she's skillful, but it does come with a lot of drawbacks.
So the only reason why I brought that up is because it was brought up in the chat. It was just something that I thought would bring an interesting conversation to ask.
For example, Shishio, I would consider him a villain too, because he just gains new techniques and things as they go along. Also, his weakness is that he can overexert himself, and that damages him. But the thing is, when that happens, he gets stronger and faster and better when he's actually overexerting himself, because fire equals more power in that context. Also, it's not that he's really skillful and like sociopathic and psychotic, and then he can't really connect with people. He's very charismatic. Like, a lot of the people under him are drawn to him because of his charisma and his ability to form alliances and connect with people. He inspires people out of fear, out of sheer admiration, out of love, and out of overall general respect. So there's no drawbacks to how Shishio was done originally.
example of a villain Sue is Ramsay Snow. Ramsay Snow is very much a villain Sue.
Interesting. Haven't thought about that before.
A villain Sue isn't as bad as an actual Mary Sue, because a villain Sue is something to still overcome. I'd say it can become a bit damaging for the story, but it's not as bad as having a protagonist that is just a Mary Sue.
Yeah,
a good way of putting it.
It's more acceptable to have a villain Sue than a protagonist be Mary Sue, because then it's straight up boring. Well, with Shishio, it was really the final fight that really clinched it as him being a villain Sue, because then you get to see all the techniques he just comes up with, and you can just there's a whole thing where he sees a technique done once and he can block it, even the ultimate technique that Kenshin learned. Also, there's also the fact that Kenshin couldn't even defeat him. It had to be Fate that had to choose Kenshin, and then Fate defeated Shishio for him.
Okay, we got 2 more super chats from Lieutenant Colonel Tanya von der Gershoff. About Maggie Mae Fish, any plans to cover more Best Girl? I have no problems, but I think the consensus is once a month is at their limit. So I have not seen the docket to see it recently, but I think someone made a recommendation a few months ago, or at least a month ago. But if you have any ideas for Maggie Mae Fish videos, put them in the suggestions channel, and we'll check them out.
RoboCop, or maybe we continue.
Don't shut up, sit down. No Maggie Mae Fish. No.
Shiny,
no, let's do a video.
Yeah, no, Shiny, you don't have to watch. It's okay. I can get other people to come in. It's okay. It's not a big deal.
Shiny's hilarious. And has LiteratureDevil seen Maggie Mae Fish yet? I can't remember if he was on.
I don't know if I was there for a critique of her video, but I've seen her before.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
He wasn't there for the.
She was there
video about Obi-Wan should be in continuity. Obi-Wan should be banging what's his name, Padme, Padamame or Panda Bear, or whatever the fucking name is.
Dooba Dooba, to quote, should we do Confused Matthews sometime? Let's do Confused Matthews Lion King video.
I like a lot of Confused Matthews stuff. It would be very specific, so.
Let's do his Lion King one, since he's factually wrong with most of the things with Lion King.
Okay, I'll be happy to check it out. I'll see if it's worthy. Yeah, sure. It's been a while though. He hasn't done videos in a long, long time.
He mostly does live streams nowadays.
Oh, okay.
Actually did like The Last Jedi. He did a stream about that.
Huh. Interesting. Anyway, John Lemley, thank you, sir. Outside of obviously Disney or LucasArts, does anyone else still have the rights to KOTOR? Nope, it's purely Disney. Because
I'd say LucasArts isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah,
it's dead.
Kennedy was talking about all kinds of aspects. One of the questions was KOTOR, and she brought it up. This was during when they announced the High Republic. And everyone was like, "Oh, cool! High Republic books, neat. How about KOTOR?" Since they had to talk about it, so they were talking about it. In what regard, we don't know, but nothing soon. Who knows what's going to happen in 2022 with the next movie? That's probably going to get pushed back, probably, as a result of this year. But you never know.
Especially since like they're trying to figure out, like, originally it was actually like, I thought it was like that was like D&D's movie that was going to get announced. It definitely wasn't Ryan
KOTOR, really? They were going to give D&D KOTOR?
No, they weren't going to give D&D Knights of the Republic. But what was happening was they wanted to give D&D the Star Wars trilogy. They were going to give at least one film or a trilogy or a TV show, and then after that they saw how bad Game of Thrones is. Like, no, we're not having it. I'm sorry, we're not doing it.
I wonder.
And then they portrayed it as they didn't want to go do Star Wars. It was look, see, we just didn't want to do Star Wars. That's the reason why we're not doing any Star Wars films. We chose not to.
Biggest movie franchise ever? Nah, we're not interested in that.
It was actually like the Austin Film Fest, where everything they were saying on that panel was so bad that 2 days later Disney fired them.
No, we haven't watched that.
I can't remember who it was, but the panel there was supposed to be a Game of Thrones panel, and they didn't show up. And it was the panel of some other thing, which they were just shitting on them. It's like D&D aren't here to answer your Game of Thrones questions, but I am. Ask away.
That was Seth Rogen who was roasting them. And, like, they chickened out of Comic-Con like 2 days before Comic-Con.
Who can blame them?
But I think that it was actually their PR department that said no, you should not go, because they went to Austin Film Fest, which is probably worse for them because at Comic-Con they could have hidden behind the actors because that's what they always do. In interviews, they just have actors answer writing questions. And with Austin Film Fest, it was live Q&A with actual writers, and then the live tweet thread destroyed them.
Okay.
Like there was a live tweet. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Here's John Lemley. I just want to thank you guys for showing Maggie May Fish on the channel during my birthday. Oh, happy birthday! However long ago we did that, so I could get a great distraction from a bad day. You know what? Maggie May makes everyone feel different on a day where it could be bad. It's always better if you're having a bad day and you watch a Maggie May Fish video, because you know that you are not Maggie May Fish. So it's always a good thing.
Yeah. I just will always find that Smud's live reaction to Maggie May Fish so funny. Where like you were like basically like just live messaging us in the Discord Bird server, just like, oh my gosh, what is this woman saying? She's insane.
Yeah, she is truly a spectacle to behold. She is a gift of the YouTube gods, and I don't know what part of the galaxy she comes from, but she is truly in another realm of her own. So
I wonder what EFAP's reaction to her would be like. That would be amazing.
I've made recommendations, not Maggie May, but
send the Obi-Wan should be banging Padme video to Mauler.
That's kind of pedestrian. I don't know if they'd care about that. They might cover it. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
I think her daddy's videos are worse.
Yeah, those are really bad. Those are horrible.
Or Fight Club.
That was still a really horrific take to try and make. It was really fucking stupid.
It's not so much the topic, it's just her reaction to the topic, which is just it's disconcerting. You're just listening to her and she's making these facial expressions and she's insinuating things and you're just like, Maggie, just stop it. That's not entertaining to most people. That's creepy. Whereas
her Fight Club.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. A lot of people
just keep going.
Have problems with Fight Club, so I understand. I can understand where she's coming from, but it's still a bad take. But yeah, anyway, let's just keep going. You're right.
She was actually wrong on most things. Like I remember, like LiteratureDevil, you were there when we covered. Like I think it was on Morning Nonsense where we covered like the first like 10 minutes of her Fight Club thing, and we like it took us like 3 hours to get through 10 minutes because she was just spouting takes.
It was very interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah. It's one word for it.
Let's go.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
Let go, Luke. I will refer back to this point. How did Luke know that this was gonna fucking work? We have not seen any characters use the Force to move things with their mind until this point.
Do you know why?
While characters aren't entirely...
Do you know why we haven't seen it? Because it was establishing the trilogy and Star Wars as a world and a universe. Yeah, there's going to be a first time when we see anything. It's what? What's your point?
And we've established that he has at least been hooked up to the Force.
Yeah, he's established that he's had a little bit of training to connect to the Force, to be guided by the Force. For all we know, he could have been still meditating and all that shit between the films. And the thing is, you can get away with this more easily when this is the first point that you establish these abilities. Because you're establishing something new. The problem is that when Star Wars The Force Awakens comes around and the rest of the sequel trilogy, it's already working with established material that it can't contradict.
The problem is Rian Johnson doesn't play well in other people's sandboxes, and he doesn't even play well in his own sandboxes. If we can look at Knives Out as an example.
he would look at the sandbox and say, how can I turn this into a chair? And you're like, wait, Ryan, that's why? Why are you doing this?
No, I was thinking into a sandbox, into a latrine.
Oh, well, that's not very creative. That's something a dog or cat would do.
Well, Wouldn't he? He's Ryan Johnson.
Yeah,
after
but
all.
maybe I don't know. You try to be some modern art. I want people to hate it or love it. It's like okay. No one's gonna appreciate you being a dog.
Yeah, and please just make documentaries. Don't make movies with plots.
Just don't write. Direct. I think he's a fine director. I think he could do that with what was it? The TV show. He made the best TV episode ever. Ozymandias. Yeah. So I don't doubt he's got a vision, but writing is not one of them. Here's John Lemley again. Thank you, sir. Maggie apparently has some takes about Christian media. Oh, good Lord.
No.
If she has takes about other religions, I'm sure Christianity's up there. So.
Well, I imagine that essentially because she most Christian movies she's covering are bad, like Fireproof or Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas, which to this day has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Look, let's not talk about Maggie Fish. There's a video. We're going to keep watching it. Just ignore Maggie May Fish. Just keep going.
Entirely familiar with the extent of the power of the Force, some people have a decent idea of how it can be used. Rey seems to know the stories about the Rebellion and the Jedi. When Han says the Force and the Jedi
Two
are
separate
real,
things.
Rey doesn't say,
yeah, but she didn't think it was
the
real.
Force? What's a Jedi?
The Force?
Oh, it's funny. He didn't even know what it was. The main character has a strong affinity
But
for
he
the
just
Force.
doesn't start
Oh,
using
this
it
is
out
the
of
worst
nowhere.
writing I've ever seen. But let's talk about the scene where she uses the Jedi mind trick. You might think, okay, so she has an idea of how the Force works. That's fine.
No, she doesn't.
But how does that explain how she knows what a Jedi mind trick is? Guys, people in Star Wars know what a fucking Jedi mind trick is. Jabba knows what it is. Even fucking Watto knows what.
Okay, Jabba is a little bit more experienced in the ways of the galaxy than Rey. So
Also, Jabba might know what it is, but he can't do it. The Force connects everything, but Jabba can't just do it. He knows about it, but he can't do it.
Like,
Jabba is decades old at the point in that. Also, he was around during the prequel trilogy. He knows what a Jedi is. He has interacted with Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, even if you take away the context of the prequel trilogy.
Also, she doesn't know the Force existed and she didn't think it was real, so how does she know what a Jedi mind trick is? And there's a difference between knowing that something exists and being able to do it. I know there are people who fly helicopters. That doesn't mean I know how to fly a helicopter.
Or no martial arts.
Yeah,
I know very little about martial arts.
But yet you know that the people do. That like there is a thing called karate where people punch and kick and spin.
I do it? Heck no!
But suddenly you're a master at karate. It's like, no.
That's asinine. So asinine.
Okay, here's John Lemley just to rub it in. After this is done, I'm going to watch Shiny's favorite content creator talk about the meaning or lack thereof of Tim Burton movies for like 30 minutes. Oh boy. John, you are a man after our own heart, sir. You are just going for it.
Please contact me. I would like you on my streams. I think it would be fun.
What it is, and he lives on an outer rim planet that doesn't even use government-issued currency.
It's about what's about it.
no good out here. I need something more real.
What I'm trying to say is, this.
He's actually talking to a Jedi. I would think he knows what's going on. What is your argument here?
Also, even if it was a problem that Watto knew that it was a Jedi mind trick, which I don't think it is that much of an issue, that still doesn't fix the fact that Rey knows what it is and actively knows how to do it.
Yeah.
It's another, hey, this is a problem here, but what about this over here?
Yeah. And also, like I'm a Toydarian. Mind tricks didn't work on me.
Yeah, you think that being a certain genetic or species that your parents would teach you, like, hey, there's these things called Jedi that can do things to people's brains, but not ours. It's like, oh, really?
And this is in the Jedi's heyday. This is when they're like common, at least somewhat.
I would say more prevalent.
Yeah. More prevalent, yeah.
Yeah, this is where we always say context matters. What is the existence of these Jedi? Are they common or not? If they're common, people know them. They're not like...
They're active in the galaxy. In race time, they are not active in the galaxy.
Yeah, they're not like... There's a lot of them, but they know of their existence. It's like Shaolin monks. We know Shaolin monks are somewhere in the world. They have temples all over the world, mostly in China, of course. But I've never seen one.
We don't know where they are. We don't know what they do, but we know they exist.
Yeah, they go on tour. They sometimes do shows, but that, years ago. But they are there. They're still around. There are people who dedicate their lives to training at Shaolin temples. They are Shaolin monks. So, John Lemley again. Does Watto know the tragedy of Darth Plagueis? I don't know. He could. It's possible.
Darth Jagan.
Darth Chad? Where's Darth Chud? Can't remember.
Dude can't even accept your American Express card, but he knows what a Jedi mind trick is.
Mind tricks gonna work, gonna make all the money.
Yeah, I'm mad. I didn't watch.
Why are you mad? This is establishing lore. This is stupid. This is not an argument. The existence of a thing. It's in the film. How could he know the existence of a thing? Because
I don't know. Maybe because I wouldn't be so mad if his brain can't actually process context. That's what it seems.
I don't think this is context.
Form a Jedi mind trick. Just knowing that Jedi can do a Jedi mind trick doesn't mean that you can do a Jedi mind trick. And Rey doesn't even know that she has the Force. Until yesterday, she didn't know it existed. And Luke didn't just start going, "Oh, off I pop! I'm using Force powers." He was trained by Obi-Wan a little bit.
And start using his Force powers for real, like the telekinesis and stuff, until the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the Force Awakens. So Rey can do all of this stuff in her first movie. Luke couldn't really use lightsabers, or he can use a lightsaber in the first movie, but only for like little things. He wasn't fighting people with it. He was mainly just shooting in the first movie. But so he doesn't start actually using the Force like we regularly were used to seeing until the second movie. And that's only with that context of I'm going to pull this lightsaber toward me, and then fighting Darth Vader, and then losing horribly.
This movie and think, wow, it's really convenient that she knows that move, because people know it's a thing that exists.
So even in like the Clone Wars, for example, Ahsoka as a Padawan, she struggles to use a Jedi mind trick, and even then she doesn't do it quite correctly. So a Padawan who's trained her entire life compared to Rey, who's not trained at all, and she struggles to do the mind trick.
This is invalid. All right, we got one more.
Jeez. This is like a fanboy just saying, your argument is invalid because I think so. It's like, what? Did you hear what we just said?
Is...
Well, we know that he's watched the videos that he's covered because he's played clips of them.
If he's watched them, he's either blind or stupid. I don't know which one, but there's no way he could walk away from a video like that.
Both.
I mean, I would say don't explain to malice what can easily be explained by ignorance. But then again, I'm really struggling to decide which one it is for Cosmonaut Variety Hour.
Here's John Lemley again. Thank you, sir. Watto knows I can mind trick people. I have failed my mission as well as the rest of my Jedi Council because how can we ever succeed from now on? Yeah, well, it was kind of funny with Qui-Gon. He was kind of a conniving little guy. He was, playing dice games and using the Force, and
every 5 seconds he was mind tricking someone.
He was always changing the bet. It's just like, what is he doing? Is he a Jedi? Like, what's going on?
I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it any further.
So yeah, Qui-Gon's a rather not
bit of a rogue.
He's kind of roguish, yeah.
Or here we go. Rey beats Kylo Ren even though he knows how to use a lightsaber and she doesn't.
Okay, very, very quick argument here. We've heard this so many times. Rey can fight with a staff.
Okay.
Kylo Ren was injured.
This is where the sonic weapon is going to come into.
Yeah, here we go.
Rey is shown to be capable of fighting with a melee weapon. This is actually
Here we
shown
are.
to us. So again, it's not unreasonable for her to know how to use a lightsaber.
Melee weapon. Melee weapon. Just a whole category. Just melee. She's going to be wielding her fists. That's a melee weapon.
With the same logic, you can use nunchucks.
Or a
With the same
bullwhip.
logic.
Or a tri-staff. Or brass knuckles. Or a dagger.
Or a spear.
A halberd. A broadsword. Like, pick one.
A knife.
An axe. An axe is actually the simplest weapon to use.
I think there are Shadiversity halfway across the world just screaming.
Even, let's say you're trained in an actual sword. If you pick up a different sword by a different make, and it's even the same type, let's say a broadsword, it's going to feel a little bit different. You'll be able to wield it. You'll be like, oh, this feels really, really different. And you'll be okay. But you won't be as great as you are with the thing you were training with. Now compare
And even
that.
it's much different because a lightsaber has no weight other than the hilt.
Compare that to a lightsaber, which is one of the most lethal weapons you can imagine being close to you, with no cross guard, no protection whatsoever. This thing's really dangerous. Compare that to a staff. A staff you could hold at any end. You could spin it around you. You can use it as leverage.
And look at the way she's holding. Look at the way she holds the staff and uses the staff, and then compare it to the way she's holding the lightsaber.
Is I won the bet? I'll take it in American dollars.
Yeah.
But I also won the bet because I was betting that he was going to use the Luke and Anakin argument.
I guess we cancel each other out then.
Yeah,
This is like like two. This is
Did
like
you take American dollars? You're the devil. Actually, no, that does make sense.
This is like second grade arguments. We're like, well, we were like a university TLJ educated argumentation here. This is like, dude, did you even do your homework? Do you even know what a sword is?
This is a giant circle jerk. They all have the same mindset. They're NPCs, pretty much.
Here's John Lemley. Guys, I know how to use a baton in GTA Vice City. I can obviously use a 200-pound sword in real life. Well, swords aren't that heavy, but that's the kind of joke that we're talking about.
I would say a knight which, like, say, wields a sword is going to even have some level of difficulty wielding a lightsaber because there's a lot of stuff you can do with a lightsaber or a sword that is different to using the other weapon.
Like a lightsaber, you would like if you're like wielding a sword versus a lightsaber, like a typical medieval sword, you would automatically like want to use the crossguard to block.
Yeah.
With a lightsaber, you need to deflect off the blade by going at an angle and automatically hitting the enemy's blade.
And this is
So
a
even
problem.
Differences which make it more difficult to believe that a well-trained knight would be able to use a lightsaber that easily.
This is one of the main problems with lightsabers in general. They're so dangerous that to have like spinning moves or any sort of brandishing that you wrap around your body is so ridiculous because this thing can kill instantly. So you don't have to do anything fancy. You just have to know not to hit yourself and how to use
one nick, you've lost an arm. That's just a flesh wound.
It's so dangerous. Like this is why I didn't like they treat it like a katana or some sort of saber weapon, which is fine. It's flashy for the movie. You get it.
Yeah, lightsabers use like a saber. Yeah.
But when you compare it to like anything that you don't, obviously all blades are sharp and deadly, but a lightsaber doesn't have to be sharp. You just have to get anywhere near it, and your skin gets burned off if you're lucky. If it has any degree of rotation,
you can cut Kylo Ren's face. It'll just leave a little scar, a little tiny bit scar.
That makes no sense.
If you do, was it John Boyega's back? It's not going to split his spine in half.
Yeah.
It's just going to, oh look, he needs to wear a little gel suit and he's naked.
So the concept of a lightsaber is always been a problem with the lore of Star Trek, just because on visuals alone, you don't need to tell me the story of a lightsaber, what it's made of, what it generates, how it works, but just see how it operates in the movies and even the other extended stuff, the books. It's almost unbelievable. And how it's taught, like there's 7 or 8 forms of fighting.
7.
Yeah, which I can sort of grasp. There's more defensive ones, there's more aggressive ones. But you're still talking about a weapon that is so powerful that if you if you screw up once, you're dead or dismembered at worst or at best. So I always do not like the combat in general. But
even then, let's say theoretically, go back to the argument. If you say theoretically that Rey knowing how to use a staff means she knows how to use a lightsaber, you kind of missing the issue that Kylo Ren is a trained master who was trained under Luke Skywalker himself, and apparently was also trained by Snoke. He had a lot of training and a lot of practice.
Yeah,
against someone who didn't know what the Force was a few seconds ago, earlier that day.
If you know what they did, if they actually put her staff, as they showed us, I guess it was the end of the film of Episode 9, where she puts the golden lightsaber on her staff. Is that what that was? I think.
No, she turns her staff into her lightsaber.
Okay, so if she did that somehow in Episode 7, I'd be like, okay, fine, it's a halberd.
Even then. She's suddenly learning how to construct a lightsaber in the middle of Episode 7. That would be a bit rude.
That is not. I mean, that is not a stretch. That's okay. I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe there's
building a lightsaber is a big thing.
If it's attached to a staff which she has used before, I can believe it. Okay.
Even then, why would you attach then become a lightsaber pike? It wouldn't
exactly.
Be a lightsaber.
It's a pike. It's a spear.
Well, no, but a pike. Even then, a spear or a pike is much different to a staff, because you hold the way you wield and hold a staff and attack with a staff. It's much different.
I totally agree. However, she at least has experience holding the staff, right? So we can make the argument for her, saying, "Well, she's not
have experience holding a dildo. It doesn't mean she'd be able to hold a lightsaber." I don't think a lightsaber pike would make any more sense.
Oh no, it would totally make more sense. Not all the sense, but still, it's better than just holding the saber.
Got the problem of the weapons function in completely different ways. You hold them in different ways. You use them in different ways.
I totally agree. However, using the same tool with an attachment at the end is not that big a stretch, okay, compared to just holding the lightsaber. Anyway, they didn't do that, so don't worry.
Hey guys, I can handle this right now, okay? In D&D, a quarterstaff is a simple weapon, okay? And a long sword, which is what the most thing you can compare the lightsaber to with, is a martial weapon. So you have to have martial training to wield a long sword, but you can have a quarterstaff being wielded by someone who can only do simple weapons, okay? Problem solved.
I think even if... you're now adding the problem that Rey is now constructing a lightsaber in the film, and that would just be adding to the number of things which she can just do without any explanation.
I would actually prefer it, even though I know it's not a solution or the best solution. It's a better thing than what we got.
RMSDX, nice DM voice. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like a DM at all. That's Cosmo.
It's not like this shit comes out of nowhere. If she never fought anybody with a melee weapon, and then she kicked his ass no problem, then yeah, I would agree that it doesn't make any sense.
But how is she even kicking his ass at all? Because he's actively trained in the weapon. He's got force abilities.
Stick around, but Kylo Ren was literally trained by Luke Skywalker, right? He should have an advantage. I would totally agree that in a fair fight,
here we go.
Be able to beat Rey.
The injury thing is coming up next.
Yep.
So even Finn, who was someone who was trained as a military soldier to wield these weird spinny batons, that's a melee weapon. Why couldn't he wreck Kylo Ren's ass? He was facing the same injury there.
And not only is this a problem logically speaking, it's also a problem narratively speaking, because if they are going to plan out a trilogy where they're doing a hero's journey formula, and not just like a vengeance thing like we would have maybe with John Wick or something, but a hero's journey formula. We're going to have, that's what they said, it's nobody who becomes a hero, right? It's kind of what the theme of this trilogy was. You're going to have a hero's journey formula. In this sense, you have to do what they did with Luke. You have to establish the person as, having potential, but they're weak right now. They're very defenseless. They need someone who teach them and show them the way. They didn't do that with Rey. The best thing they could have done with Rey is have her lose to Kylo and then have someone rescue her at the very last moment or something. And then that way we could see where she needs to improve and where she can go. But she beats Kylo in the first encounter. Now we have nowhere to no way to look, and we have nowhere to see what potential she might hold or where she needs to go from here. She just already defeats it. She already wins.
I completely agree. It's not only not even if it made sense consistently, it still wouldn't work narratively that she can just defeat Kylo Ren, because why is there any kind of tension? I mentioned this when The Last Jedi was coming out. Why should we have any kind of tension if we know Rey can just defeat Kylo Ren?
Well, we've spoken about this to death, guys, so we can keep going. But
we can. Yeah. The reason why there's tension between even the first Luke Skywalker Darth Vader battle is because it's the first time it's the first time seeing Luke and Darth Vader actually come to blows, and we're saying like, okay, what's going to happen? Because is Luke Skywalker going to win? Is Darth Vader going to win? No, of course Darth Vader wins because it's not over yet. The reason why the very last fight is so tension filled is because he got beaten last time. Has he improved enough to actually finally defeat Darth Vader?
And that works narratively. The first time he fights Vader, he gets his ass kicked. The second time he fights Vader, he actually wins.
Hero's journey. That's why the hero's journey works so well. You breaking the hero's journey in the way they did in the sequel trilogy. That's why people don't really like it as much, because it breaks the hero's journey. The age-old, time-tested formula that Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams are so arrogant that they can restructure and reformulate.
And at the end of the Return of the Jedi, it was Vader that saved the day and killed the Emperor. It wasn't Luke. Luke was dead to rights if Vader didn't save him.
Yep.
Here's Lieutenant Colonel Tanya von de Gerschiff. Spears are pretty easy and intuitive to use by untrained persons and have a huge advantage over swords. There's the reason they were so prevalent. Yes, I would agree. In medieval warfare, you train someone with a spear and a shield over an axe or a sword or what have you. So,
not if you cut the spear in half and then stab the person, because that was an active thing people did. Just cut the spears; they're made of wood.
And here's John Lemley. Smudboy, why have your writings make sense when you can spend $100 million just to try to make some dollars? I think that's in regards to JJ. So yeah, I don't know.
For reasons.
It wouldn't take that much to make sense. It just maybe one line of dialogue or one reference. How does she know to fight? Show us. She can fight with a sword or an actual lightsaber. Maybe she found it. That would be fine.
As in my video where comparing Luke and Rey, we don't even need to see the mentor specifically. We don't even need to see the mentor teaching her specifically. We just need to have a hint of a mentor. That's why I keep saying this, that it'd have been so much better and solve so many of the problems that they're presented with in The Force Awakens if instead of waiting for her parents, she was waiting for her Jedi Master to return. Because then we have the context of, okay, she's waiting for a Jedi Master to return. She's waiting for someone who is skilled, and apparently she is the Padawan or the student of this master, which gives us an explanation, gives us some sort of basis to go off of. Why she has these, she's so familiar with Force techniques and things. Not just out of nowhere she can learn these things.
And maybe the master blocked her memory. And she's relearning things, or something. Yeah. There's so many ways to fix this.
In Jedi Fallen Order, the way that they portray character progression is that it is Cal Kestis relearning everything he learned as a Padawan. So he's been cut off from the Force for so long. He's been hiding for so long. He hasn't done anything that. When he finally does start using the Force again, he has to relearn everything.
Even I guess Force atrophy. His Force muscles have atrophied from lack of use.
Yeah, but knowledge is forgotten, and he hasn't. Yeah, I'd say atrophy is a good way to describe it.
Emotional substance that have been added if, like Smudboy said, if the Master had blocked Rey's memory because of the reason being that Rey loved her Master so much. As a little kid, she clung to her master so much that the master needing to go away to solve some problem or something would leave Rey in a debilitated state, mentally debilitated, where she wouldn't be able to survive or even lose. She would lose the will to live. Imagine that's the reason why the master made the sacrifice to cut herself off from Rey and cut Rey off from her, to sacrifice Rey's memories of her, in order so that Rey can live a better life while she's away and may actually never return. Very realistically, never return. Maybe she went off to go fight Darth Vader or something. I don't know, but or some other Sith Lord or something. Some danger that very well the consequence might very well be death or something. And then she slowly learns this and rediscovers this memory over the course. And it'd be better, even better, if she's so bitter against the person who left her. She knows she's waiting for someone, but she doesn't know who. And she's so bitter that they left her behind.
But LibDev, you're forgetting one very important thing. You have creativity.
JJ Abrams has anti-create.
That was so great, though. So much. It adds so much more emotional substance and context.
Yeah,
but
I completely agree.
Can't get that. Has to be all. She's just awesome. She's just awesome, guys.
Here is Tanya again. You can't easily cut spears' shafts. They are pretty thick and often had reinforcements. Swords are not for cutting wood. They can be easily damaged. I know some Chinese spears are really thick. The halberds are especially heavy and thick. So yeah, they're made of pretty heavy-duty material. But the best ones were long and not too thin, and they were used for all sorts of different attacks against cavalry and advancing forces. So you could train and be very well skilled in how to fight with a spear, or not at all. You still be pretty effective on the battlefield. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, 5 more minutes. All right, we're good.
And Finn at the same time, but this fight isn't fair. Kylo Ren is clearly visibly wounded. He's fucking limping through the fight. The movie shows
But yet he's got a full range of
this
motion.
Motherfucker has a gunshot wound.
He has a full range of motion. He's spinning about. He's doing all these things. If he was very injured and limping around the battlefield, he would be moving very differently.
And he beat Finn.
And the thing is, one of the things I've actually seen Cosmonaut Variety Hour say about this scene in particular. He said before that he really likes the moment where Kylo Ren is like pumping on his fucking wound, making it worse to try and derive power from the pain. If he's doing that, that should make him worse. You've just contradicted yourself, you bloody idiot.
I didn't even think about that. I thought that was a moment of, okay, the pain is meaningless to me. Because I've seen, people do this in other movies, like strong, awesome action heroes do this in other fights where they hit on the wound or something like that to give them a sense of adrenaline or something. Because it's something guys do. I don't know, I can't really think of one right now, but I've seen this happen, not even just in movies, but in real life, where if you see some sparring matches, they might get hurt and they pump on it, they hit it or something, they make it, they jolt the pain so they can get the adrenaline rush. It's something that people do and to prove to themselves like this, it's just pain, get themselves used to it and acclimate to the pain. Because once you get acclimated to the pain, the fear of getting hurt is worse than the actual pain itself. Okay, so when you actually get acclimated to the pain, it's not as scary. You don't flinch as much anymore. Mm-hmm. It gets you used to it.
Previously in this film, you have scenes where that bowcaster that he was hit with was flinging people. And I remember E.C. Henry did a video about this, trying to work out how powerful the bowcaster is. And he said it's the equivalent of holding a tank in your hands. Because he worked out the speed and the force behind it as the stormtroopers are being thrown, and he calculated it to be the same as an Abrams tank.
Yeah, consistency, it's not a thing in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, because they set it up to be, hey, look, it's so powerful, look at what it's doing. And it's like, okay, that's cool to make it powerful, but the problem is you've just kind of fucked yourself over now because you've established it doing one thing. And yeah, I admit, yeah, you did it to do cool. Okay. But now you fucked yourself out.
And the other argument we always make is that the Sith get stronger as they get hurt. So they like their emotions to be intense. So
well, they derive power from their emotions.
Right.
From pain and anger, whereas Jedi gain their power from controlling their emotions.
Well, I wouldn't say they derive power from controlling their emotions. It's just they're very focused and at peace. I would say that they get it from positive emotions, just not things like love. They control it because they believe that love is what leads to the dark side, essentially, is that leads to pain. They kind of become a bit weird with monks, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but hey. It's still positive emotions that they kind of drive from, but it's the idea of controlling and peace and all that.
I just read the The comment by JW Entertainment, J.J. Abrams tank. That's cute.
Well, he destroyed the franchises, so...
J.J. Abrams tank has to be pretty powerful. He destroyed Star Wars.
Shot a big hole in it.
Destroyed both of the former tentpole sci-fi franchises.
Yeah, Star Wars and Star Trek used to be the pillars of good, well-written sci-fi.
That obviously hurts pretty bad. The reason for making him wounded in the fight is so our heroes have a chance in beating him. He was
Okay, that's not...
He's got moving around.
He's moving around very, very well for somebody who's got a gunshot wound.
And narratively, it would have been so much better if he still won, because they can't beat him when he's this injured. How can they hope to beat him when he's not injured any longer? Again, narratively, it would have been so much better if Rey lost, not only for Kylo Ren, but for Rey, and the narrative and the idea of the hero's journey.
And they still would have been split apart at the end there, because the Deus Ex comes out of nowhere and splits them apart anyway. So who cares if she won?
Yeah, the fucking story had to save Kylo Ren because he was about to be fucking killed by Rey. They had to physically split them apart. The hand of God had to put these two apart so she didn't kill the antagonist.
Deus Ex Machina had to step in and save Kylo Ren for the Mary Sue. Wow.
So every time you see a Deus Ex Machina, that is usually a sign of very bad writing, whereas the writer is written to a corner or writes themselves into a corner, and they don't know how to get out of it, and then boom, hand of God, voila, story continues. So
sign of poor writing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like someone comes back from the dead, even though that actually does happen in episode 9. But, Deus Ex, not a good thing.
Another, imagine, somebody gets, think of, the bowcaster, even though, we said, the power is more equivalent to something like an Abrams tank. Imagine,
in continuity, it is not the power of an Abrams tank, but the way they portray it within the films and the force that it has, that it's flinging people... It's the power of a cannon Abrams tank.
Imagine, I'd love to see kind of a test of, what an elephant gun does to the human body if you even, get a glancing blow. Since I think that's probably, probably a better example of what the bowcaster is able to do in terms of its power.
It's always hard to interpret.
The problem is...
Yeah.
Because an elephant gun kills things that are much tougher than a human being. But it seems as though Kylo should have something equivalent to an elephant gun round.
I'm sorry, every time you say elephant gun, I just think of Vector from Despicable Me, where he's got all these guns like Piranha gun, oh yeah.
Well, the idea behind high caliber weaponry, elephant guns, are just bizarre, foreign or exotic calibers.
Or bear gun.
What is an elephant?
An elephant gun is just a really big gun, and its name was coined to people on safari. They couldn't take down big game like elephants or rhinoceroses, so they had to make bigger guns and bigger ammo. So it's so the way that physical rounds would work is they would tear right through them. They wouldn't push them back the way that a bowcaster does. And I don't know why that happens, because we're talking about a bolt of energy. So bullets, when you see them as they shoot someone, the body just collapses. The bullets are so powerful and penetrating, they rip right through your body. They don't push you back. That kinetic energy is focused. So whenever you see stuff like in science fiction where the guy gets blown away, literally blown away, left off his feet, it's kind of like, that's silly. That's weird. Unless the whole point of that attack was to be concussive, meaning to be like a blow to the face. So it's like this wide range of an attack. This was actually in Tech War, the William Shatner series, where this gun that one of the detectives had was like a stun gun, like it would just punch you really hard and you would fly back. And the other one was kind of like it would just envelop you. So it would just sort of knock you down. So even consistent there, but there were ratings on the gun that you can control how powerful it was. So an elephant gun would literally just tear right through things. So would a bowcaster.
Itself, the way it's portrayed, it's acting like it's a force that is being spread across the entire body. But even then, the sheer G-force of that would just probably rip someone apart. Like everything would just liquefy.
Yeah, the same with like a well-known caliber. The 50 cal would just rip right through everything. So nothing would get pushed like a shot. People see that in movies. A shotgun blast would like blow you away. No, you'd have a giant hole in your body, or a giant series of holes in your body, as the buckshot would penetrate you. So you wouldn't get blown back. And there's plenty of YouTube videos showing this, of people hitting dummies or ballistics gel. It just tears right through.
An elephant gun round is about the size of my hand, and it's like half as thick as like a person's wrist.
I don't know how big's your hand.
Okay,
that's not a serious question. No, I'm not asking a serious.
Yeah, well, like it's like something like 8 inches long, and it's as thick around as a regular person's fist. It's a huge gun. Yeah. Like I've shot like an elephant gun. Like they're huge. They're huge, and the knockback is crazy. Like as soon as it hits your shoulder, like you feel that impact.
Yeah, like compare that to a double-barreled Remington. Like that's still a big, heavy gun. But compared to the caliber of a like if you see, go on YouTube, do a search for elephant gun. I've seen a few back in the day. They are just these giant pipes with these huge cartridges. It's just an explosion. It's just boom. And your shoulder is just wrecked for at least a week. So it takes a certain sized man to actually wield the gun without hurting themselves, but even then they'll still get bruised a little bit, unless you have padding or something. Anyway, back to the video, which is all the old arguments, only done very poorly, that we've heard time and time again.
Shot with a motherfucking Wookiee bowcaster. Even if you don't know how strong they are from a fucking book or video game like I am, the movie shows you 3 times how
yeah,
strong
but it's inconsistent.
Let's
it's
see what
wildly
happens to people
inconsistent,
who get
and
shot
that's
with
the
a
problem.
Wookiee bowcaster in this movie.
Then how is Kylo Ren even alive?
Oh, it's pretty effective if you ask me.
Even worse.
That was like a grenade. That was just a kaboom.
He's making himself look even worse.
Kylo Ren just gets hit and he's like, and that's it. It's just like it's a little dick. It's just a flesh wound.
Simply a flesh wound.
Yeah. So when things are inconsistent in the narrative, it's kind of hard to believe what they can actually do. You could make the argument that Kylo Ren had some special armor, or he used the Force to protect him, or all this other stuff.
Well, no, he wasn't using the Force to protect himself because he didn't even know it was coming.
There's all sorts of stupid arguments I've heard. Oh, he's a Sith. You could sense it coming. It's like, no.
He wasn't paying attention. He didn't know it was coming until it hit him. And I would say it's probably more acceptable if it was coming from a character, I don't know, say a stormtrooper rifle or Rey's blaster. Like, if it was coming from either of those, which I'd established to be more normal blasters, that would make more sense why he isn't thrown across the room and liquefied.
Or, like, and it's even worse because apparently, like, a bowcaster is, like, the extra knowledge actually makes it worse, where a bowcaster, it's bits of metal coated in plasma. It's not pure plasma like most other blaster rounds.
Right.
Obviously, Kylo Ren had more hit points than his regular stormtrooper. Okay, that's the answer.
Just like fuck's that? I've already forgotten the characters' names now. Like Major Chad and what's his name? Wilder.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Chad and Wilder had very different health standards.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the actual literal example of plot armor. So,
yeah,
and I hate that example, but that's exactly what it is.
That Kylo Ren didn't just die right away from getting shot, but nevertheless, he is very, 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 very wounded. He has a big boo-boo.
No, he's not.
Let's go ahead and just
if he was very, 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 very wounded, he'd be lying on the floor saying, "Ah, fuck."
He would not be able to walk, let's just say, let alone wield a weapon. So
another boo-boo for good measure. Guys, it's not unreasonable that he loses. I save this shit for the end because it pisses me off when I see elements that are shown to the audience in order to cover certain bases, but everybody ignores them. Other than having a high aptitude for the Force, everything...
Argument here is that I really hate it when people take context out of things while also taking context out of things with Luke Skywalker to defend Rey.
Ooh. We're also saying that the context is stupid in a sense.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
Everything she does is completely reasonable for the hero of a sci-fi adventure movie.
She
Category
just closed
2.
her eyes.
Oh, he just swears at us. Fantastic.
Fuck you.
Should we stop now? This guy is completely childish. There's really no...
I think we could have stopped like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
We could really quickly watch E.C. Henry's Chewie's ludicrously powerful bowcaster video.
Let's not cross streams. I'm pretty happy with not.
Let's at least finish.
We can watch 3 more minutes of this, or 6 minutes of this, and we're probably not going to be pausing to.
Let's just go through this then. This is so stupid. Let's just keep going.
I'll post the link in there.
I have to wrap this up, guys. I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack. Part 4. I'm gonna have a heart attack. In my Blade Runner review, I brought up how Blade Runner is good because it doesn't pander to audiences. It doesn't try to be a movie for everyone.
Blade
and I still
Runner
think
is
that's a
good
good thing.
and occasionally
but I think
triumphant.
that there are movies that should be for everyone, and Star Wars is that kind of movie. Putting black people and
says the
women
man in
and
Moscow.
gay people in Star Wars
It's
probably
not
annoys
for anyone can enjoy Star Wars, but it's not for everyone. It's
Oh,
not
says the man in Moscow. It belongs to everyone.
There are people it's dependent on your taste. Anyone can like it, but not everyone will like it. I know everyone who that Star Wars it just isn't their thing. They're not into science fiction. They're into crime dramas, or they're into romantic dramas, or they're into Lord of the Rings, or they're into this or that and the other, or they're in like fantasy. There are people who are like that. Not everyone likes Star Wars.
Johnny, Star Wars is for everyone except for us.
Obviously, it wasn't made for us.
Star Wars for everyone. On one hand, the same people say Star Wars is for everyone. On the other hand, it wasn't made for you. Same thing. Same people.
They say, fuck you.
Probably annoys some people. I did not address these complaints because I don't consider them valid. But either way,
ooh,
I dismiss your reality.
Okay, these were the only points that apparently all these videos made. I've seen a lot of the videos he's pointing to specifically. I've watched them. They make a lot more points than this, and the rest of the points they're just not valid and they're not worth discussing. Shut up.
Force Awakens succeeds at being a movie that everybody can enjoy, so long as you don't go into it wanting to hate it.
Oh, you're just a hater. Shiny. Wait, what are you doing? Stop hating Star Wars.
He just said that everyone loved it at the beginning, and then after they kept watching it, they began to hate it. So obviously, you've just contradicted yourself by saying that they went in, they enjoyed it, they came out of it, then they hated it. It's like, what the fuck?
It's like the sequel trilogy. Are you really hating Star Wars? Because this seems like a different sci-fi genre, different sci-fi trilogy altogether, with a Star Wars label on it.
Yes, all Star Wars fans hate Star Wars.
This video was the start of what eventually led to the widespread attack on the fans who just really didn't like the new sequel trilogy.
The original trilogy is dumb. It's super simplistic, it has bad acting.
What?
A dumb, super convenient plot structure, but everybody loves it. I love it.
Oh.
The greatest film trilogy of all time is dumb.
He's belittling the original trilogy.
Fantastic.
I called that one too.
His evidence for this is... So his evidence for bad acting is Leia saying what? Was that even a particularly bad acted scene? It's just saying what. It's a line.
This is how you make an argument. You know that stuff that where it's better? Yeah, it's not.
He's like, oh yeah, it's really terrible, but I love it.
Despite how terrible he thinks the original trilogy is, the sequel trilogy is a lot worse, a lot worse.
The
More than
writing is worse.
Simple is not bad. It's simple. They think that simple equals bad and complex equals good. It's not how it works.
The thing is, though, simple narratives, they're much easier to do than complex narratives, and you get a higher quality narrative by doing a good simple one rather than a bad complex one, because a bad complex one falls into the ground and falls flat on its face, whereas a simple one, while you can't achieve the same as a complex narrative, it still achieves something.
An example of like a good complex narrative is A Science, Vice, and Fire, where
would say,
you have multiple characters that are interlacing. Yeah,
I'll take a difficulty setting when it comes to writing. So you can go on the easy mode, which you're more than likely going to do really well at it, but it's not really you can't really achieve as much. But going on the super complex expert plus, that's going to be, if you do it well, it means you're going to have something far better, but it's more likely that you're just going to fall fat on your face.
High risk, high reward.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's high risk, high reward. And not all writers can achieve, they don't have the skill to do these extremely complex narratives.
That
but they
would
try and do it anyway.
only be a mentality if you were a writer and you say, I can do something really complicated. It'll take me some time, though. But they would still make something that makes sense that's complicated. Like, say, a murder mystery. That's really complicated. And if you want to do a really complicated murder mystery, you're going to be pulling your hair out for months. But you don't say, oh, I'm 80% there of this making sense. You can't say that. Everything has to make sense. You cannot just invent crap and just forget about it. So if you were a good writer and want to do something difficult, you say, why would you do that? First off, what's the point?
I kind of feel like this point where he's trying to belittle the original trilogy is like trying to go for like a nut shot, like a cheap shot.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like trying to play dirty by trying to belittle the other stuff to try and prop up the new stuff.
Yeah, guys, when you make an argument, don't demonize your opponents by swearing at them. It doesn't really work.
No.
Or by being disingenuous by saying, oh, look, they just hate it because everyone loves it. Or like actively ignoring all context.
Movie franchise ever. We can look past these flaws.
Oh, there was a shot of Luke missing. Wow, that's amazing. Thanks.
And enjoy it for the things that it does well. There are people who have already written 8 comments before finishing this video complaining about how I'm too hard on the secretly brilliant prequel trilogy. They're willing to look past the flaws of those movies and enjoy them for what they do well. For the sake of fairness, for the first time in a video, I'm going to share the things that I personally think the prequels do well. It's the only time I'm doing it, so
I've got a feeling
these
he's not
movies
even gonna do
incorporate
well.
new, unseen elements to the Star Wars universe. We get more details on the Jedi and the Sith and how the Force works in a society
That's world
knows
building.
about these
Yeah,
things.
it does it well.
Many of the
for
actors
the
are
most part.
obviously trying their hardest to make the material work. I like the Clone Wars. Y'all already know that.
That has
And it
nothing to do with
wouldn't
the
happen if it
prequels.
wasn't for
Shut
this
up.
Dumb movie trilogy. Plus, it created a new generation of Star Wars fans. Most millennials grew up with these stupid movies being their Star Wars movies. Yes, they suck, but when you get past that,
That's
you can
not the
build an
actual quality. That's
appreciation for
incredibly
other Star
subjective
Wars
inside
media.
the meta.
If I can look past the flaws of these movies and enjoy them even a little bit, then there's no reason why everyone should be so hard on The Force Awakens. This is not an offensive movie.
Oh, Pawn Story Games. Pawn Story Games. Oh, no.
Oh.
I completely forgot about that guy.
But then there's no reason why
Story,
everyone
oh,
should
yeah.
be so hard on The Force Awakens.
That was the guy who was constantly in our comments saying how much
Wasn't he
of a
the guy-
genius he was and how we're doing whatever wrong.
The guy that
He's
like, the only
he tried
game
to
artist
act-
these days or something like that.
Yeah, the only true game developer creating true original games. There has never been a true video game. It would be our honor to talk to him. We're missing out. What fucking ego on that guy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but he got 885,000 views. Oh, boy.
This is not an offensive movie. As of the time of me making this video, The Last Jedi isn't out yet.
It's not an offensive movie if you're a moron. Yes, we get it.
If you don't think about it.
If you turn your brain off, everything's not offensive. It's amazing what happens when you have intelligence.
But I assume The Last Jedi will also have a ton of flaws. Hell, it might even suck. But I'll probably like it anyway.
But I'll probably like it anyway. Oh my god, his bias is just...
It's probably going to suck, but I'm going to like it anyway, because there's Star Wars on it.
Ooh. That's quite a quote there.
Enough jingling keys, I'll like it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wars movies are just fun to watch. I just want people to reevaluate the reasons
That
behind
is
their criticism.
Oh, that is really belittling Star Wars.
Let's reevaluate the reasons why you dislike
don't
something.
go to Star Wars for good narrative storytelling. You go there for the action.
It had a really good narrative storytelling. Just because it was simple doesn't mean it was bad. Also, the original trilogy, people loved it unironically.
No.
Okay. People loved the original trilogy unironically. The only way to love the prequels, the sequels, is ironically, and the prequels are just awesome because of the memes and stuff. It was and the ideas, but the prequel series was kind of presented horribly, but the ideas were good. The sequel trilogy, all it does is kind of demonize, belittle, and just destroy and diminish the legacy of the original trilogy.
Yeah,
they're just bad movies by themselves. Very little to redeem them in terms of their qualities. They just look pretty.
Turn your brain off
this movie because it truly isn't as bad as they say it is. BB-8 really does suck, though. I mean it. I really do hate him.
Why? What's wrong with BB-8?
I mean, I have my problems with BB-8, but considering how he just mindlessly consumes everything else and not explain why he doesn't mindlessly consume this is weird.
What are these empty statements?
I don't know.
Cosmo Big Dumb. I don't know what else to call him. He makes declarative statements without reason. You just sit there like, okay.
Why do people like him?
Because he's inflammatory. It's kind of the same reason why people like Nostalgia Critic, only Nostalgia Critic actually usually has better points than this guy.
He takes away context from Luke Skywalker, but gets really mad when he sees people taking context away from the sequel trilogy. It's okay for him to do it. It's not okay for someone else to do it. One rule for thee, another room for me. Another rule for me.
When you actually add the context, more context of the context for the sequels, it makes them worse.
Let's just go and finished. Come on.
Hi guys, I'm in the box again.
We're done.
See. Almost like this is gonna be a semi-regular thing. I don't know.
Please don't.
Now I'm not here to tell you guys.
I like your PNG Galaxy, which you can find fucking anywhere on Google Images.
You're gonna do whatever you want, regardless. But I am here to say that you should follow us on Twitter if you want.
Yeah, I think we're done here.
Oh, we're done.
Oh boy, guys, that was painful. Okay, well.
Extremely painful for me.
Yeah, Cosmonaut has his own levels of stupid, and he's got very little to offer in terms of anything. I'll need to watch his Amazing Spider-Man reviews. I think that's the only one that he's actually good, or his Game of Thrones review. But that's kind of because the only person who wasn't no, this sucks was Yezin IRL, and Yezin IRL is his own disingenuous weasel type.
What are we possibly gonna watch next?
Whoa! What just happened?
Ooh, we should do Maggie May Fish. It's that time of the month. What?
Maggie May Fish? What?
John Renly did $100.
Oh, very nice, John Renly.
John Lemley, I actually now agree with LiteratureDevil. John Lemley is Tommy Wiseau in disguise.
With the bottomless pit.
Endless money. He just every stream just random $100 super chats.
Well, thank you, John, and thank you, Lenny. Not sure what that was for, but okay.
John Lemley gives me like 20 quid a month on my Patreon.
Wow.
John Lemley.
I offered, because one of my Patreon perks is that I'll custom texture a clone for you, and I'll send you the renders of it. But he didn't even want that. And it's like, okay, he doesn't want the perks. He's just giving me money. Okay.
I think it's a joke. Hey, John Lemley. Yes, capitalism is bad. Capitalism is bad. Capitalism is the source of all evil. Thanks for the $100 super chat.
I don't know.
Dang, that's all. Please come over to my stream sometime, or I'll need to set up my Patreon.
Well, yeah, you can't really get super chats because your channel's not monetized. You need to get to the 1K mark for that.
I think he just wanted the red background so he could say capitalism was bad. I think that's the only reasoning I can make. That's it.
Irony of having your channel open to super chats, being a communist. And then guess what bread tubers does? Xander does, Vosh does. They're all bread tubers.
Xander,
that about communism and champion the evils of capitalism. So how capitalism is so evil. Thanks for the $100 super chat, by the way. They don't turn away super chats. They'll turn away super chats.
Okay, well, that
all this time he's just been giving us Monopoly money.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Oh boy, but thanks guys. That was really great. Painful, but this is what we do. This is our show. So
it was painful.
It was extremely painful.
This is not more painful than Maggie May Fish.
Well, okay, we're talking about two very different things here. Okay,
we are talking about different things, but they are both bad. But Maggie May Fish is worse.
Maggie May Fish.
It's painful.
Okay, you found a pain in Mundane Matt, and he's mundane.
Okay, I got anger from Mundane Matt.
Another super chat.
Oh my God! What the hell? What is going on? The show's over. What are you doing? John Lemley, thank you, but you don't have to keep throwing money at the screen. But okay, thanks.
No one doesn't want your money. I'll take it.
No one will suffer if we all do. And that's a flag I can't see because I'm in a different.
I think it's like
Russia and China. I think.
Russia and China. Okay.
Yeah.
Russia and China.
So different. I guess that's magenta, and the one above it's more orange. But anyway.
And yes, John Lemley, capitalism is evil. Thanks for the $50 super chat.
Pretty much the same statement, yeah. And Lenny the Shark, John has credit card infinite cheat. I don't know. He's hacking YouTube. I don't know how he does it, but so anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I don't think we have anything else to comment on aside from Morning Nonsense tomorrow. We got Dunn doing his own live streaming just prior to this one, talking about what were you talking about, Dunn, in your previous video?
We were just, I was talking with Blue Teddy Productions and Dr. Crow about the first two books in the Wheel of Time.
Oh, cool. Those are a classic. I remember growing up on those books. It's been a while since I've touched them. But
You've read Wheel of Time?
Oh, I was like a kid, man.
Read Wheel of Time?
That was a while ago. I barely remember them. This is when I was reading Tolkien.
Well, they just barely got...
Sorry?
Well, they barely got finished 2012, I think.
Really?
When the last book came out.
Okay. Well, we're talking about the 80s, so. Yeah, 80s and 90s.
Was it? Wheel of Time, it came out in first book was 1991, and it got finished in 2012, I think.
Okay, I was reading Tolkien in 88. No, sorry. 90, actually. I was in grade 5. So, yeah, then I was reading Wheel of Time. So, a while ago. But I didn't finish Tolkien. I didn't finish Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time was huge. So, there were so many. It was like the Hardy Boys. There was all these other books for young adults. So, whew. What is this? Andrew Clark. Thank you. MM says America invented the OG Nazis. What? What does that mean? MM.
Made the Nazis.
I'm pretty sure
Maggie May Fish. Oh, that's what that is. Says America invented the OG. What the hell are OG Nazis?
Original gangster.
I don't know, but I think fascism kind of started in Italy, and I also think the Nazi Party was started by Hitler. Well, it was converted to the Nazi Party by Hitler.
Maybe she's kind of blaming the whole thing where a lot of American investors invested money in Germany during the recovery of post World War One, and then decided to say, "Hey, the stock market is crashing. We need to call in all of our debts and not really mess with everything and help put Germany into a very desperate situation. They turn to a madman in their desperation. I guess kind of the Dark Knight sort of scenario, and their desperation to turn to a man they didn't fully understand or something like that."
Well, the thing is, when someone promises the world to a country which is actively fucked, it
wasn't even the fact that the Germany was like, we're voting these guys. The Nazi Party gained a lot of traction, but they didn't take over. It was only due to the fact that he's popular, so we'll just add him into the
pretty much. Like, he became leader of a very dubious success. I believe he was originally made chancellor or second in command by the current prime minister, who was trying to get a large amount, all his followers on his side. And then he just happened to die, and then Hitler just happened to take control of the entire country.
Not even through voting or anything. They weren't voting in power. They kind of did the whole. Well, I think they essentially were, but only after they did the Reichstag thing, the burning of the Reichstag, and then it was they blamed it on communists, which really believed that it probably was Hitler's people who did it. This is they could blame the communists. And then it went on from there. But it was, I guess, Becky Mayfish's argument might be that it was all sparked because of capitalism. And capitalism put Germany in that desperate of a state. I think it was World War One that kind of did that.
Did America create capitalism?
Yes.
Yes.
Everything America made, obviously.
Here's Tanya again. Never read any of those. I grew up on Witcher. Oh, I guess you're from Poland. There you go. Or rather, that's the Polish equivalent of Tolkien, so obviously you'd be more interested in that. But yeah, there's all kind. I wasn't reading what's his name, Shannara series until late '90s because I never heard of it. But same idea. So you grew up on different books, and you try detective fiction, you try murder mysteries, you try all the subgenres, you try the pulps. Lots of sci-fi pulps I barely remember because they were so weird. Like the pulps are really where the writers are allowed to experiment and do crazy things. One of them was called Be an Interplanetary Spy. It was a choose your own adventure book. It was just like every trope, every page, like what is going on? You're suddenly your best friend becomes a villain. You're like, whoa. So there's all kinds of great books out there, stories of what have you.
They're so great. The pulps were able to explore new territory in fiction and narrative, and the pulps, because of the necessity of the writers having to produce content, they got into the mechanics of what makes a good story, what makes a compelling story, because they needed to sell, and they needed to make stories that people wanted to read. So they needed to do it quickly.
Every word had to matter. You got paid by the word. Absolutely. So.
I think so many prominent authors that we kind of remember today were once pulp fiction writers. Robert E. Howard and Lovecraft, they were pulp fiction writers. So many other writers that are almost household names today were pulp fiction writers at one time.
Yeah, H.G. Wells, all these guys back in the day, they wrote for magazines or other publications where there were you didn't have a manuscript to write a book yet because you were nobody and no one would publish your stuff. So you had to actually work
usually. What happens in those pulp fiction narratives? They usually revolved around a very simplistic narrative: good guy, bad guy, plot to run through. Usually very simplistic. And Conan the Barbarian is boiled down to essentially the tools of Conan the Barbarian. Whether you have Conan, you have a girl for him to rescue, you have some interesting ruins for him to explore, and you have a bad guy. You have some sort of like Lovecraftian kind of entity that he has to battle. It wasn't that complex of a story narrative. It was simple because if it's simple, more people can access it a lot easier, and they knew that. And they're trying to, sell to the masses. They're trying to sell to a general audience. It's like Star Wars. We're trying to sell to a general audience. Guess where Star Wars came from?
The pulp. Yeah, the same idea with the soap operas. How we got radio dramas in the 40s and the 50s. All these wonderful stories that no one's ever heard of because if you look at soap operas, even in South America, they exist for like one season, and they're highly dramatic, and they just get different actors and they recycle them all. Same with Japanese actors and actresses. You might have heard the same guy or same girl if you watch an anime from one year to the next. The same names, the same talent. So they know what sells, they know what works, and they just put them in different roles. Say it's Suzaku from Lelouch, the Rebellion. It's, oh, he's over here now, playing the same role. Wow, who thought that, getting typecasted is still a thing? Of course it is. They want the same quality that they got 5 years ago from Gundam or what have you. So very, very standard stuff. You start from small stories, like short stories, and you build yourself up into being a novelist. And I'm sure Dunn will give you a different background on his experiences, but, writing is not a one-way street. So
I heard one time in China that it was kind of revolving Jackie Chan. But I heard one time in China that if you're a film star in China and usually seen as a hero, they won't cast you as a villain. You are a hero actor.
Interesting. A leading man, huh? Always the lead protagonist is always strong and virtuous and healthy. And the villains are always that, the what's his name? Christopher Walken type guy. Looks kind of spooky. He's got a range of emotion that no one else has, and no one who has the right voice is Christopher Walken, So anyway, guys, I think we've gone on long enough. 3 hours and 10 minutes. Thank you so much. If any suggestions, I haven't gone through the suggestions today because I was organizing other things. I had to make a second list of suggestions. We just have so many, and we're not knocking them off because, again, they're very big. And organizing this took about 4 days to put back together. Was it Thursday? We did the previous one, part one.
We started covering this on Thursday.
Okay,
and then we were going to do. Friday was supposed to be Lower Decks, but then LitDev couldn't make it, so then we just moved Lower Decks to yesterday.
Okay, so that's right. So again, to reiterate, everyone's channel, LiteratureDevil, Morning Nonsense. He does videos every month or two. We have Dunn, who does live streams. He's building up his subscriber count. Always talks about, anything fantasy related. He's the guy. So books, shows, you tell him, he's there. And Shiny, in case you haven't figured it out, he's our sci-fi, Star Wars, Star Trek guy. So check out his channel. I think you're coming out with was it episode 4 next? So
watching episode 4 of Lower Decks. I've also got a couple of videos that I'm playing around with to do.
All right, great. And I'm doing one for a patron. I'm doing a video on Sarah from Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm almost done my script, and I'll probably be finishing this week. But in the meantime, we might have another Smudcast this week. Don't know when. But keep coming with those suggestions. We always love to hear them. And thanks again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Good night, everyone.